Dr. Gayatri, good evening.
Good evening.
Alka, are you around?
Good evening. Good evening.
Alka, are you
Yes,
around?
sir. Yes, sir. I'm around. I'm just sharing this consent presentation so that.
So, Alka, when
Yes,
I
sir.
registered with your link which
Hmm.
you have sent, no? So after
Uh-huh.
that, after registration, it is showing that a confirmation email will be sent to me. But in the morning also I registered and no confirmation email came to me. And 5 minutes back also I registered and no confirmation email came to me. So I doubt that we will be once again facing the same problem like last time, that attendees will not be able to join because they will not be getting the confirmation email. I have joined with your link which you have just shared in the group, but there was no email about the confirmation or the joining link.
Okay, sir. I'll check
Last
for
week it was
the.
there. Last week it was there. This time it was no email.
Okay, I'll check, sir.
Dr. Ankita has just messaged in the group that I need to do emergency for bronchoscopy for foreign body extraction. Will try and join if possible.
Dr. Mahesh will most probably be joining by 9.
Is expected around 9:30. Anyway, we can discuss, no problem.
Okay.
So we are live already. So
Okay,
we'll start another 5 minutes. Okay.
right. So Alka, just for sharing the screen, how to go about that? Can you please tell me here? I can't see any button for sharing.
On the top right, there is a.
I'll check.
Yes, share. Okay, got it. Just near to end event. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Hello, sir.
Shall we start, sir? Hello.
Yes, I think we should start.
Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the session 2 of CRD education series in collaboration with IAP Allergy chapter. And as you are seeing on the screen, just to inform you that this webinar is being recorded, and by displaying this, I just take a consent that you are agreeing to the recording and you are consenting to be photographed, videotaped, live streams. Okay. And if you don't want to be recorded, please avoid speaking or expressing your views. So welcome back again. So coming to the CRD education series. So today's topic that we have is on house dust, mite, and components. Very important topic because, as you know, Indian mostly the prevalence is very high for house dust mite allergy. So I would like to introduce speaker for today, Dr. Neeraj. So he is an allergist, pediatric intensivist, and sleep specialist, senior consultant at Sir Gangaram Hospital, Delhi, and World Allergy Organization for Center of Excellence. His professional achievements are he's a chairperson IAP Allergy and Applied Immunology chapter for 2025 and director a diploma in pediatric allergy and asthma DPA. As done his qualifications are MBBS, DCH, DNB, FRCPH, CPH, PCH, DAA, FA, AAAI, IDPCM, CPSM, Certificate of Excellence in Pediatric Allergology by EIT, H-Index 14. He's authored many books that include Handbook on Allergic Rhinitis that was released in 2025, Comprehensive Textbook of Allergy, IAP Case-Based Review on Pediatric Allergy 2022, Allergy in a Nutshell, that's a handbook 2019. So over to you, Dr. Neeraj. You can start with the session. So
Thank you,
I'll
Alka.
stop sharing.
Yeah, please. Thank you,
You
Alka,
can
for the
start.
nice opportunity. And let me share my screen. Is my screen visible? Is my screen visible?
No, not yet. So.
Uh, I'm sharing the entire screen. It should be. Let me once again try. So I'm trying again. Please let me know. So it's writing. There is an issue with content sharing. Something went wrong. Try again. Yes, let me see. Here.
Yes, your screen is
Are
visible now.
slides visible now or not?
No, your screen is visible, sir, not slide.
Alka, when I'm sharing the entire window, then it is not sharing
Sir, you
the
do
share.
screen sharing. Please share the screen, no, entire
When
screen,
I'm
not the window.
when I'm doing the entire screen share, then yes, okay, got it. Is it okay now?
Yes, yes, yes. Go ahead,
Okay,
sir.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alka, for the nice opportunity to discuss about this very important webinar in this series of component testing. So today we are going to discuss about dust mite. Now, first of all, the important thing is that why we are discussing about dust mite. We all know, we all understand that dust mite is the most common reason. It is the most common culprit, which is considered to be responsible for a majority of cases of allergic asthma and allergic rhinitis in our country. The other important reason is that dust mite is the, you can say, like the most important, or I will say that the most uh, good allergen that has a good effect on immunotherapy. And even the international guidelines like GINA and other guidelines also recommend about dust mite immunotherapy and dust mite treatment. So that is why it is very important that we need to really discuss about dust mite. Nowadays, now this component result diagnosis has come up. So do we need to really see that what is happening? So the overview of my talk will be, I will be discussing about existing whole extract versus upcoming component-based allergy evaluation and management. I will also be discussing about different components of dust mite. I will also be discussing about principles of cross-reactivity, and then I will be touching upon that how we can adapt all this knowledge in our Indian scenario. So what we understand with dust mite allergy, that a patient will come to us, he will provide us certain history, and as per this history, then we will perform certain tests. Now these tests could be in vivo test or in vitro test based upon the whole allergen extract. And when we are getting an evidence of sensitization, that means clinical history plus evidence of sensitization, this evidence of sensitization could be either in the form of in vivo or in vitro test. Then at that particular time, and these all tests are actually based upon whole allergen extract, then we are making the diagnosis, okay, this particular person is having dust mite allergy, and what we do, we usually ask him to avoid allergen or dust mite with certain avoidance measures, and we usually ask him to start on certain immunotherapy. So this is our standard management which we are doing till now. The question is that uh, is there any scope of improvement? Are we able to do justice in all the cases, or there are certain cases in which there are still some questions which remain? So are there any disadvantages of whole allergen extract? So let us discuss. Yes, the first disadvantage is there could be potential misdiagnosis. Why? Because sometimes the allergen profile in itself, the whole allergen extract, it might not be representative of all the components, all the different sectors. So ultimately, it might provide us a incomplete information. For an example, if a particular allergen is made up of, let's say, 5 allergens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it is possible that probably few allergens like 1, 2, and 3, they are having a maximum concentration in the whole allergen extract, but 4 or 5 might be missing, or they might be having just insignificant value. So if a patient who is sensitized to component 4 or component 5, you will be missing that particular patient because the test will come negative, and you will feel that, okay, this particular patient is not sensitized to the mite, but it's not the story. It is the problem with the whole allergen extract. So the second reason is that interspecies cross-reactivity. Sometimes it happens that you are testing, you can say like a bunch of allergens. You are testing different allergens. That could be dust mite, could be cockroach, could be shrimp, or probably something else. And at that time, you are getting more than one positivity. Now you don't know that what is happening, whether it is a polyallergenic patient or it is a single allergen, but there is an interspecies cross-reactivity which is happening. So, and that is giving you the false positivity. So that is why there are chances of misdiagnosis if we are just relying only on the basis of whole allergen extract. The second thing is that there is a problem with the variability of the extracts and quality issues. So there is a lack of standardization. Though there is considered to be standardization for one particular method, but when we are talking about different methods, then at that time there is lack of standardization in different methods. If we are talking about skin prick test extracts, whatever extracts which are available to us right now in India, they are yet to be standardized. That means that one batch of allergen, second batch of allergen, and third batch of allergen, they will not be having the same standard or the same quality or the same composition. And at that particular time, it might be difficult to ensure the consistent and effective treatment. The other problem could be the presence of known allergen components. What it means? Because they are not that much standardized or they are yet to be standardized. So there is always a possibility that they might be having certain non-allergenic materials. And these non-allergenic materials, we really don't know that which type of effect they will produce on the immune system. And they might have a potential impact on the treatment effectiveness, which we are not aware about. Then there are always a risk of contamination risk, because whenever you are making some solutions, some extracts with a cruder techniques, then at that particular time, there are always chances of contamination risk. They could be minimal with a better technique, but still there are chances. And ultimately, they can complicate the diagnosis, which can potentially exacerbate the allergic reactions. The third problem could be with the allergen extract itself, there could be potential side effects and immunological implications. Like, for an example, unknown immunomodulatory effects. These whole allergen extracts might have some unintended effects on the immune system by some of the components which we are not aware, and ultimately which can have a potential influence on the course of treatment and development of tolerance. Potential for anaphylaxis. So like, for an example, if you're doing an in vivo testing, so there is a theoretical risk of probably a severe reaction. So that is why you need to have, you can say, like whole gamut of all the resuscitation equipment and a clinic setup, or probably a hospital setup, which is well equipped to deal with any emergency. Though these are rare, but still there is a theoretical risk this can happen. And then challenges in monitoring the treatment. That means the complexity of the extract, it actually becomes really difficult that how to monitor the efficacy of probably the avoidance measures or probably the immunotherapy, and how to ensure the compliance of the patient, whether this particular patient is sticking to whatsoever you have advised. So these are the main disadvantages which I have just enumerated for allergen extract. Are there any alternatives? Is there any future direction? So yes, the alternatives could be that we can probably rectify whatever the problems are. So this could be standardization of products, rigorous quality control, but it is easier said than done, because we understand that all these processes will take a lot of time, lot of effort, and it actually becomes, you can say, like really difficult for now. The second thing is that we can probably use purified and recombinant allergens. Now, using individually purified or recombinant allergens in diagnosis and immunotherapy seems to be better choice, more precise, but it definitely requires, you can say, like characterization of different relevant allergens, cost issues, and different other things. Something else can we do? Yes. So this is component resolved diagnosis. So this is today's topic, which I am going to talk about regarding dust mite component resolved diagnostic, or CRD. What it means? Component resolved diagnosis. It means that suppose if the house dust mite is having n number of component allergens inside. So house dust mite is, you can say, like a family or a bunch of different allergenic proteins inside. So if we just try to identify one by one individual component and try to see that what are their properties, then at that particular time, this is called as component resolved diagnosis. That means each and every individual component we are trying to dissect and try to understand which are important for us and which are not important for us. So it can definitely help us to identify specific allergens to which a patient is sensitized. It can definitely improve diagnostic accuracy, and it can enable more personalized treatment plans. So let us explore, friends, the house dust mite components. So this house dust mite is basically a whole gamut of different allergenic proteins, and we will see one by one what is happening. So do you know who am I? Who am I? House dust mite. From where I can come? So I came like this. I have traveled a long journey. I have traveled a journey of million years, or probably a billion years. Everything started with the kingdom animal, animalia, and then thereafter with the different phylum, subphylum, class, subclass, order, suborder, family, genus, species. All these things happen. So there have been lot of cousin brothers and cousin sisters which I have left at different stages of evolution. These could be probably your insects, these could be crustaceans, these could be even millipedes, centipedes. So, and then scorpions, spiders. So all these I have left one by one, one by one, one by one, and I have reached to you, to your home, to your beddings, to your mattresses in the form of this dermatophagoids, in the form of this uroglyphus, in the form of this, which is blue. So what I want to say that this dermatophagoids farini, dermatophagoids sterinaceus, and uroglyphus mini and Blumia tropicalis, they are considered to be, you can say, like originated from one common suborder which is called as Astigmata, and after that they got separated out. So they all are cousin brothers and sisters to each other. Could be one generation apart or probably few generation apart. So I will come to the importance of that. Now, what are the main dust mite allergen groups taken from WHO IUIS database? So these are the major allergens in which you just count around 21 proteins, which are the major allergens, which are considered to be, you can say, like important for us right now. But rest of the allergenic molecules, the researchers are still trying to identify their significance. We really don't know about them. We cannot say that they are not important. Probably we are not aware about them. So there are different allergen groups, among which group 1 and group 2. These two groups are considered to be major allergenic groups. And if you just see the different species, which I just mentioned, the 4 species, so they are having different isoforms. Like for an example, in allergen group 1, even cysteine protease, that particular enzyme or that particular protein is available in dermatophagoids sterinaceus in 24 isoforms, farini, 10 isoforms. So you can just see how much variety I am having across the world. The same dust mite, dermatophagoids sterinaceus, group 1 allergen, cysteine protease, might not be same in India as compared to probably in the Europe or probably in USA. So because there are different isoforms which are existing, but everywhere it is dermatophagoids sterinaceus, everywhere it is dermatophagoids perini, and the same holds true for other allergens also. So let's see how many components are there. So these are called as the allergen groups. So like in this slide, they are from 1 to 7. They are labeled as DARP1, DARF1, and their biological function is basically this is cysteine protease, and the Ig reactivity is nearly 80 to 100%, both for group 1 allergen as well as group 2 allergens. So these are also called as the major allergens, and they were found to be significantly higher in asthmatic children than in children without asthma. Then there are other allergens which we are probably not aware about, like called as mid-tier allergens. So just see DERP4 and DERP5. These are mid-tier allergens. What are mid-tier allergens? So they can be significant. They can be significant in asthmatic children, but we really do not bother or we really do not consider them. And many a times we are just behind only DERP1, DERP2, DERF1, DERF2. But there are others also which we are not considering. So these are called as mid-tier allergens. Then these are other allergen groups from 8 to 20, among which, if you just see that this is DERP11. So if in this DERP11, what is happening? This is paromycin. Now this paromycin is a minor allergen, but it is responsible for atopic dermatitis. The other important thing, which I will come later on also, this paromycin could also be responsible for a cross-reactivity with roundworms. So I will come to this point of cross-reactivity later on. For now, I am not going further here. Now going in the DERP20, this is arginine kinase, which is also there. And then this is DERP23, which is considered to be, you can say, like Ig levels DERP23 were significantly higher in asthmatic children as compared to without asthma. So it is also considered to be one of the major allergens nowadays. And then the allergen groups are ranging up till 40. So friends, what I want to say that till now, DP, DF, all the dust mites, they have been categorized, or the components, the 40 components have been identified, or 40 groups, component groups have been identified. Now just see, here there is DERP37, which is probably going to be the component of future. So why I am saying this? Because though it is called as minor allergen, but it is also considered to be associated with allergic asthma. There are no research papers right now on DERP37, but I'm sure that in coming future we will see more work on this DERP37 also. Now there are many non-IgE mediated allergenic activities also of dust mite allergens. What are these? So like for an example, group 1 allergens, they can cause disruption of epithelial barrier integrity, and then IL-33 maturations, and then cleavage of other antiproteases and many other CD factors. Similarly, group 2 also can cause TLR activation. And then there are other allergens which are enumerated in this table, which you can see that having non-IgE mediated allergenic activities. So it is not only IgE mediated allergenic activity, it is non-IgE mediated allergenic activity which can happen. So suppose if you want to ask me a question that, okay, what is the, or which component is the most prevalent, or which component is the most common causing sensitization in a given population? So let's see. So these are the studies across the world. I have just included the studies which have been done only on the basis of immunocap, but there are several other studies which have been done based upon different other methods. I am right now considering only the in vitro gold standard diagnosis, which is immunocap. So if you just see different studies, Japan, Belgium, Bulgaria, different studies. So they are saying that DERPI1, DERPI2, they are nearly up to the tune of 80%, 90%, 97%. But my friends, DERPI23 is also playing a significant role, which is 71%, 82%, and here 77%. So these all are the studies which are actually amounting to, you can say, like the major allergens, group 1, group 2, and DERPI23, nearly 70%, 80%, or 90%. So all these studies from different parts of the world, they are actually suggestive that yes, these are like different prevalence rates which are happening. Now this particular bar diagram is telling us about the allergenic activity assay, which is completed for dust mite IgE binding molecules. This has been done by several methods, by provocation test, by passive cutaneous anaphylaxis or allergen immunotherapy. And what they have found that DERPI1, DERPI2, and Blumia tropicalis 5, blot T5, these three are the major, you can say, like IgE producers. These three are the major IgE producers, allergenic activity with different other assays. But DERPI5 is also nearly approaching this. Blot T8, DERPI10, DERPI23. So they all are also having a significant allergenic activity, even DERPI5. So what I feel is that DERPI5 is probably the next component which is going to come up in a big way, contributing to a lot of allergic asthma and allergic problems. So just to summarize whatever I have spoken till now, so clinically relevant dust mite components, if we want to, you can say, like classify them with the current knowledge into three categories: major allergen, which shows reactivity in more than 50% of patients; mid-tier allergens, reactivity in 20 to 50% of patients; and minor allergens, reactivity in less than 20% of patients. Then major allergens are DERPI1, 2, DERF1, 2, and P23. So these are the major allergens. Mid-tier allergens, which are probably the upcoming allergens, are 4, 5, 7, and 21. And then minor allergens are there. And then here in this category, Blumia tropicalis 5 has been considered as minor allergen because these are the maximum studies which have been probably done in temperate climate. But in coastal areas, Blumia tropicalis might be probably going into mid-tier allergen, or probably even the major allergen also. So that is why what I'm saying, that we actually require our country-specific studies, and then only we can say that which are the major allergens for us, or which are probably the minor allergens for us. We really do not have that data with us. So main allergen expression by different species: Dermatophagoids, Tornicius, and Farini. This is group 1 and 2, and then Blumia tropicalis. This produces blot T5 and 21. So these are the main allergen expressions by different species. Now, what are the different components, functions are there? So like group 1 is DERPI1, DERF1. So group 1 component, which are also called as cysteine proteases, what they do, they degrade the epithelial barrier and induces Th2 response. Similarly, group 2 allergens, they cause lipid binding, and ultimately they mimics the MD2 in TLR4 activation, and these are the major allergens. Similarly, DERPI23, which is also considered to be one of the major allergen, it helps in binding to chitin, and ultimately it is important in moderate to severe asthma. The other one is DERPI10, which is tropomycin. Now this is a cross-reactive panallergen which shows the reactivity to shrimp and cockroach, and is also relevant in food allergy context, which I will be discussing later. And then the upcoming allergens, DERPI5, which I just told you that there is some relationship in atopic dermatitis. So we really don't know. DERPI7, still there is an unknown figure which is going on or hovering around DERPI7, but it has been seen that DERPI7 has been associated with asthma exhibitions, severe asthma, uncontrolled asthma, difficult to treat asthma. So DERPI7 is also having a known association with that, but we require more data. So there is a moderate clinical relevance for that. Then DERP11, I was telling you earlier that this is basically a muscle protein, which is also called as paramycin, and it cross-reacts with other parasites which are seen in helminth. So that is why it is a very important component for India, because in our gut, there are not many helminths which are there. And whatever we are doing a whole allergen extract testing, and it is coming positive, we really don't know whether this is positive because of DERP11. It is possible, and it is actually cross-reacting with helminth only. It is not a true sensitization to the dust mite. DERP20, DERP21, DERP39, these are considered to be the emerging molecular markers which are associated with severe phenotypes and polysensitization or polyallergy, but we require more data. So molecular sensitization variation with age. Now, the question is that this molecular sensitization, which I'm speaking about different components, is there any change with the age? So let's see. So this was the paper which was published in 23, and it has seen that from first year of life onward till the entire course of life, how this sensitization changes. So just see that sensitization at first 1 year of age with a sample size of around 40, the sensitization for group 1 and group 2 was considered to be maximum, along with DERP23. So friends, DERP23 even started at first year of life also. Then sensitization at 3 years. So if you just see that gradually the group 2 sensitization is increasing, 3 years, 6 years, 18 years, group 2 sensitization is becoming a little more, and that is why it is considered that group 2 or DERF2 is considered to be more allergenic as compared to group 1. So especially in this particular age group. And then similarly, the DERP23 sensitization is increasing. But the other components are also surfacing, DERP5, DERP7, which I just mentioned to you. And then at 25 years of age, now the group 2 at the adult, 25, 36, 44, group 2 is the maximum. So it is a group DERP2, DERF2, they are the maximum. Even DERP1 and DERF1 is also not that much, but group 2 is the maximum. And here DERP23, even other components like DERP21, 5 and 7 are also playing some significant role. And even at the age of 80, it's a group 2 which is maximum. So what I want to say that group 1 is maximum to start with at the first year of age, and then as the age progresses, group 2 increases, and group 1 decreases. We can also understand this concept in that manner that probably group 1 allergen are considered to be the sensitizing allergen. And when they are sensitizing, then at that particular time, they are actually, you can say like helping the body to get sensitized. And later on, the more powerful allergen, or the more, you can say like clinically relevant allergen becomes group 2 or the DERP2 or DERF2. So this is also possible. Now, this is a very complicated and very, you can say like very complex diagram. I will try to simplify with you. So what is this? This is called as Bayesian directed acyclic graph. So why I'm discussing this? Reason behind, because this is the future. This graph is created for an individual patient. So these nodes, these, you can say like the blue color nodes, these blue color nodes are basically representing the specific allergen molecule like DERF2, DERP7, DERP5, and etc. And then the directed arrows, if you just see carefully, that one arrow is starting from one point and then going and end to the other point. So what are these? So arrows are actually representing the conditional probabilistic dependencies. Means what it means? It means that an arrow from DERF2, like for an example, arrow from DERF2 to DERP2, an arrow which is going from DERF2 to DERP2 like this, it is showing that sensitization to DERF2 is probabilistically influencing or predict the sensitization to DERP2 also. So it is actually telling you about the probabilities, about the probabilities collections. Then it is also telling you about the probabilistic dependencies. What it means? Like for an example, molecules like DERF2 and DERP1, sorry, DERF2 and DERP1. So there are multiple outgoing arrows which are going from there. That means there seems to be the central drivers. There seems to be the central drivers of the hub allergen with a high influence over sensitization patterns to other molecules. Whereas there are other molecules like DERP23 and DERP5, which is going on like here. So here they are receiving the end of many arrows. That means they are probably the downstream markers, or they are probably considered to be like more servants to the central drivers, which is happening. What is the clinical relevance? The clinical relevance is that this type of diagram actually tells us that which is the primary sensitizer and which is the co-sensitizer or the cross-reactive molecule in the component. and that will also help us in selecting about the immunotherapy. Like for an example, DERP1, DERF2, or DERP23, which can be probably implicated towards immunotherapy. Now, this particular diagram is for an individual patient. So there could be any other different patient in which different direction arrows could be there. So it is possible, like in this particular example, it is a DERF2, which seems to be the key driver allergen, and you need to really target DERF2. But it is possible that in any other particular patient, even the arrow directions might change. And at that time, you have to probably direct your therapy towards that component. So what I'm saying, friends, we are moving towards precision medicine, and we need to really be aware about all these things which are the future. So let's discuss about individual diseases. So exploring the role of allergenic component, this is recent paper in 2 months back only in dust mite induced allergic diseases. So this is the graph which is showing once again group 1, group 2 and P23. Even if you just see with the level of, you can say like the specific IgE produced. So it is maximum in the group 1, group 2 and 23. And these are the diseases like in atopic dermatitis. It has been seen that group 1, group 2 as well as DERP5. If you remember, I told you DERP5 is associated with atopic dermatitis. So this has been considered to be, you can say like contributing. Then in allergic rhinitis, it is mainly group 1 and group 2. And then in asthma, it is definitely group 1 and group 2. But there are certain other players which are also playing role, like DERP7, which is also playing role, and even DERP23, which is also playing some role. Now, this is also showing, this table is showing some structural homology. That means group 1, DERP1, DERF1, the structural homology is around 80%. That means that suppose if you are testing positive to DERP1, 80% chances that DERF1 will also be positive, or vice versa. So they both are cysteine proteases, but you remember the different isoforms. So these isoforms are resembling nearly 80% or 88% to each other. So what is the response to dust mite immunotherapy on individual components? So this graph is showing you the response to individual components. So what is happening here? Like the 2 stars means the maximum correlation, the best correlation. 1 star means you can say like the moderate correlation, and no star means the weak correlation. So this graph actually can tell you, like for an example, if we see DERF2 here versus DERP5 here. So DERP5 and DERF2 are having a moderate degree of correlation. Similarly, if you just see like DERP2 and DERF2 is a strong correlation. So these particular type of graphs can be used to understand the cross-reactivity with the level or the degree of correlations. Now, 1 or 2 slides about DERP23, because I've highlighted this particular allergen component clinical relevance in asthmatic children. So this study with a total number of patients of 276, they saw that how many got sensitized to all the 3 components DERP1, DERP2 and 23, how many were only P1, P2 without 23, and how many which were only 23 without P1 and P2. And what they found that out of 276, there were 14 people or 14 patients who were isolatedly sensitized to DERP23, but not to P1 and P2. That means it is possible that your whole allergen extract might come positive, but DERP1, DERP2 might be negative, and it is only P23 which is positive. Then what they have seen that among these patients, there are many who are not responding to immunotherapy, because the immunotherapy, we really don't know whether it is having how much content of DERP23. So we need to be really very careful about this. This is another paper which is suggestive of, you can say like the success of specific immunotherapy when they have seen of the subcutaneous immunotherapy injections, and they have withdrawn the samples to see that at which particular time period, which particular component of HDM IgG4 increases. So just see that DERP1, there is a significant increase in IgG4, then DERP2, significant increase in IgG4, DERP5, there is no increase, clearly suggestive that probably the immunotherapy which has been used is not having any component of DERP5, and that is why it was not able to induce any IgG4 to DERP5. DERP23, yes, there is some increase, but not as good as DERP1 and DERP2. That means probably there is some element of DERP23 which is going on in the conventional immunotherapy, but it is not as robust as there for the DERP1 and DERP2. So now coming to the why I'm speaking about all these components. So what is the role in diagnostics and management of dust mite allergy about the components. So let's see. So let's go one by one. Important components only. DERP1, cysteine protease. These all are the different techniques. So when we are talking about in vitro gold standard technique, which is immunocap, which has been shown here as a solid circle, and then rest of the other techniques are also there, which are available. So DERP1 is having a high proteolytic activity. It is a major allergen. It is the risk factor for developing allergic asthma. And this activity suggests a role in initial sensitization. You remember I told you that group 1 allergen seems to be the sensitizer allergens because they are present, they are predominant in the first year of life, and gradually their dominance is decreasing, and group 2 allergen dominance is increasing. So group 1 allergen seems to be main responsible for the initial sensitization, and it is also a marker of efficacy of immunotherapy for dust mite extracts. DERP2, which is once again a major allergen of dust mite, and it is also a marker of efficacy of immunotherapy, but its value increases later, and it definitely causes allergic asthma and directly responsible. DERP5, I told you it is associated with atopic dermatitis, may be underrepresented in dust mite extracts, and therefore false negative results can be there. DERP7, it is associated with allergic rhinitis and allergic asthma, but it is underrepresented in dust mite extracts. DERP10, tropomycin, risk factor, cross-reactivity, we'll be discussing. And there is a risk factor for anaphylaxis, which can also happen, and possible cross-reactions with mugwort tropomycin. Then, now this is the new one, paramycin, which is DERP11, atopic dermatitis, DERP20, DERP21, atopic dermatitis, and then DERP23. So DERP23 is once again underrepresented in conventional whole extracts. So now, one important thing about DERP23 is that it is 10 times more potent as compared to DERP1 and DERP2, as compared to group 1 and group 2. What it means? That it is capable of activating basophils in patients with dust mite allergy at 10 times lower concentration than group 1 allergen. So it is as potent. So why I am highlighting that DERP23 is now the next, you can say like the upcoming allergen which we need to take care of that. The research is necessary to provide evidence of the accuracy of immunotherapy in people allergic only to DERP23. Coming to the concept of cross-reactivity, once again going back somewhere around 1,000 million years ago, kingdom Animalia started dividing, phylum Arthropoda, phylum Nematoda. From this phylum Nematoda, the roundworms came, which are there in the gut. And then phylum Arthropoda once again divided into, you can say like the Acari subclass, and then there are others like centipedes, insects, and crustaceans, including shrimp. So what I want to say that this shrimp, insects, especially cockroaches, they all get separated out from the dust mite million of years ago. If you just see this diagram, what is happening, the flow chart. So the Arthropoda phylum, nearly 580 million years ago, it got separated out from the crustaceans. Insects also got separated out somewhere 580 billion years ago. And then thereafter, nearly 460 million years ago, it got separated out with some scorpions or the spiders. And now when we are talking about this Acari, then this Acari itself is having this stigmata. This stigmata is now divided into a lot of dust mites, house dust mite and storage dust mites. So these four are the house dust mites, which are enumerated on the right side also, and rest are the storage mites. So what I want to say that these house dust mites and the storage mites, they are actually the cousin sisters and cousin brothers, but distant apart. Nearly 600 million years ago, they got separated from the cockroaches, they got separated from the crustaceans, they got separated from scorpions. And evenly before that, they got separated from the roundworms. But still, there is some cross-reactivity. Why? Because there are three components: tropomycin, arginine kinase, and enolase. And these are the three components which remain conserved during evolution. Why? Because they are having certain critical and fundamental roles in cellular and muscular function. And that is why, as per the Darwin's theory, the survival of the fittest. So because they were having the critical and the fundamental roles, so they were not deleted, they were kept. And when they were kept, so they are actually, you can say like common in all the species, and that is why they are creating IgE-mediated cross-reactivity. Let's try to see a little more deeper inside each one of them. Tropomycin. What is tropomycin? Tropomycin is basically a muscle contractile protein. It regulates the actin-myosin interaction in muscle contraction, which is a fundamental process in all motile eukaryotes. You actually require actin-myosin interaction. And That is why this function is highly conserved, because this motility is essential for muscle and cytoskeleton function. And that is why tropomyosin has practically not changed at all, or a very little change during evolution. And it gets, you can say, like, that is why, because of the presence of tropomyosin, which is also called as DERP10 in dust mite, and BLA-G7 in cockroach, and PEN-A1 in shrimp. And it shows, because it is a similar epitope, it shows cross-reactivity. And that is why, if you just see this chart, so what is happening here? So these all are the cross-reactivity, PEN-A1 with the BLA-G7, PEN-A1 with DERP10, and simultaneously, because of this, tropomyosin itself, even Ascaris can also show cross-reactivity. Now, friends, you might be amazed to know that Ascaris is also cross-reactivity positive. So it is also possible that a person is actually not sensitized to dust mite. His crude allergen, his whole allergen is positive. SPT could be positive, specific IG could be positive, but actually he's not sensitized to dust mite. It is only probably the tropomyosin, and which is coming because of the cross-reactivity to Ascaris, which is there in the intestine. It is possible. So if you just see this orange color, so orange color components like blot T8, blot T10, DERP21 and DERP5, they've also been found to be cross-reacting with Ascaris. So these are also possible. And then the blot T5 and DERP5 have moderate cross-reactivity, which is also possible. Now here, once again the same thing, but I have also added the specific components to individual allergen also. Like for an example, the green color shadows, BLA-G1, BLA-G2, these are the specific components for cockroach. DERP1, DERP1, DERP2, DERP2, these are the specific for dust mite. Similarly, BLO-T12 or BLO-T5, these are the specific components for Blumia. And for Ascaris, it is the Ascaris lumbricoides ASCL1, which is the specific component for Ascaris. But if it is ASC1, ASCL3, then it is tropomyosin actually, which is cross-reacting with DERP10. Then coming to the second component, which is arginine kinase, which is used for energy metabolism enzyme. Its function is that it plays a role in ATP buffering in invertebrates, which is equivalent to creatinine kinase in vertebrates, which is highly conserved because energy metabolism is vital and it is tightly regulated. Now, arginine kinase is shared in shrimp in the form of PEN-M2, in dust mite, DERP20, and in cockroach, BLA-G9. And that is why it is actually present in invertebrates, a lot of invertebrates, and that is why it is called as pan-allergen, which often acts as a secondary allergen, contributing to polysensitization. So if you just see that this is a mealworm, so mealworm is there, or the silkworm is there, so it is this mealworm is sharing this arginine kinase, which is the blue color component. This mealworm is sharing with the silkworm, the blue color, with this Aniscus simplex, BLA-G, DERP, as well as jet tiger shrimp. So that is why it is called as pan-allergen. It is arginine kinase. And then the third one is enolase, which is a glycolytic enzyme. So which is also essential for the basic cellular energy production. And that is why it has also not altered during the evolution over millions of years. It shows cross-reactivity with mites, shrimp, cockroach, and even fungi also. And that is why it also has a bit of cross-reactivity, and that comes up with a polysensitized individual. So why these are highly concerned? Because these proteins are called as housekeeping proteins, which are essential for survival. And as per Darwin, mutations in these housekeeping proteins, if happen, they are deleterious. This organism will not survive. And hence evolution selects against variation, and these have not changed over millions of years. And the immune system, particularly IgE, recognizes the conformational and the linear epitopes, which remain similar across species. Now, the other part is pancake syndrome, or also called as oral mite anaphylaxis. It is a rare form of food allergy due to ingesting foods contaminating with dust mite, particularly tropomyosin sensitized individuals. It often occurs in tropical and subtropical climates, including India, where flour or pancake are stored in warm, humid environments and become infested with storage mites. So the onset is rapid. Within minutes to 2 hours, it can happen after eating. Symptoms could be anaphylaxis, that could be mild to severe, and the differentials could be true food allergy, idiopathic anaphylaxis, or food additive reactions. And how you have to prevent it? That you have to just store the flour in an airtight container in cool, dry places, or probably a refrigerator or fridge. So it is still a very much under-recognized condition, at least in India. So I'm talking about Indian context. it is an under-recognized condition. Unexplained anaphylaxis after home-cooked food. We really don't know what happened. Positive mite sensitization, but no clear aeroallergen symptoms are there. Reaction to heat processed food, chapati, puri, dosa, and still the person is reacting. Why? Because tropomycin. And friends, tropomycin is heat stable. So this is basically pancake syndrome. This is an under-recognized entity. So coming to the last part of the presentation. So combining everything together, what we learned today, it's a 360-degree approach to the patient. So which has been published last year with mite allergy from scientific evidence to the bedside. Let's see what is happening. So just to summarize, dust mite, important components, group 1, group 2, derpy 10, derpy 23, cross-reactivity, these two, the group 1, group 2 are specific to dust mite, marker of true sensitization. Whereas derpy 10, it is not specific, it is tropomycin, can cross-react with shrimp, cockroach, ascaris, I have explained, cross-reactivity present. Derpy 23, we really don't know what is happening, but it seems to be a major allergen. It indicates severe disease, persistent disease. Blumia tropicalis, Blom T5, Blom T21. So these are also considered to be major allergens in humid region. So though it has been counted as minor allergen earlier in the previous table, but it all depends upon in which geographical area you are talking about. If you are talking about coastal areas, it might become major allergen. And then it can also show some cross-reactivity with derpy and derf. So the test in South or East India, probably it might be more relevant. Seafood, shrimp or prawn, pen A1, which is because of tropomycin, so which is showing cross-reactivity. Pen M2, which is because of arginine kinase, showing cross-reactivity. Cockroach, BLAGI1, BLAGI2, these are like specific cockroach proteins. Whereas BLAGI7, it is tropomycin. Parasite, important, ASC, Ascaris lumbricoides, ASCL3, which is tropomycin. And high total Ig in presence of parasite, village background, probably it is gut parasite or it is Ascaris, which is creating a false positive dust mite whole allergen extract. So for a temperate climate, if we want to, you can say like summarize everything. So if a patient who is coming to us with respiratory allergies, asthma or rhinitis symptoms, DPDF positive, still we have to go with the components. DPDF negative, still we have to go with the components. So friends, there will be a time that probably the whole allergen extract will soon be replaced by the individual components, and in which if it is derpy1 or derpy2 or derpy23 positive, then environmental control and allergen immunotherapy. If all are negative, it is only derpy10 positive, then at that time it is possible cross-reactivity, no AIT. If only derpy23 which is present, I will be coming to that part also. So right, so same thing which is happening here. And now coming to the tropical. In the tropics, even the Blumia becomes important. And now you have to really do Blom T12, Blom T5, derpy1, derpy2, derpy23, derpy10, and Blom T10. And then see all positive, then at that time you have to give allergen immunotherapy to all of them. If it is only Blumia allergen positive, derpy negative, only Blumia immunotherapy. If only derpy allergen positive, only derpy immunotherapy. Whereas if it is only derpy 10 or Blumia 10 positive, T10 positive, and rest others negative, it is probably helminth, and you have to explore helminth sensation. So with this tropics, can I draw something for India? So yes, this is for India. This is India specific approach. If in a patient only derpy 10 positive, it is possible cross-reactivity, not a true allergy, food challenge if concerned. That means if the patient is concerned, there is a previous history, then at that particular time, you can probably do a food challenge and then see what is happening. If he is tolerating, it is fine. If it is not tolerating, then we have to stop. Pen A1 or Pen M2 positive plus history of reaction. Now, this is the true shrimp allergy. You need to avoid it. Derpy 10, BLAGI7, Pen A1 suggests tropomycin syndrome. Then cross-reactivity to all three. High derpy 1, derpy 2, derpy 23, confirmed dust mite allergy, and Ascaris lumbricoides 3 positive, derpy 10 positive. It is mainly tropomycin, Ascaris cross-reactivity, so deworming is advised. These all are the different components which are right now available. I have just enumerated only the immunocap technique, but there are other several techniques which are available, and there are other components which are also available with the difference between singleplex and multiplex. What is the future? I just mentioned about derpy 5 and derpy 7, but none of the algorithm, the existing algorithms are including them. So this seems to be the future. So future with the additional components in which derpy 5, derpy 7, they are also included. And then the decisions will be taken that, okay, whether this particular patient is going for immunotherapy, which is also having 5 and 7 extracts, or it is not going for immunotherapy, it is only the clinical score monitoring which is happening. So this seems to be the future. So last 2-3 slides, and then I will stop. Utility of CRD in clinical practice. DRP1, DRP2, DRP23 sensitization. It is a predictor of asthma persistence and severity. Early identification in infants. This early intervention is needed and counseling is needed. Patients with DRP1, DRP2, and DRP23 sensitization, they better respond to dust mite immunotherapy. Monitoring AIT response, CRD may help to track the disease control in a better manner. And changing management with CRD, whole extract specific IG high, but CRD negative, no point in giving allergen immunotherapy to that particular patient. For India, there is limited access, health prevalence, cost concerns. So we definitely need to develop our own algorithms as per our conditions. Need for India specific components is there, because there could be certain components which we require for our country, like ascaris lumbricoides 3, which is probably not there right now in the table, but we actually require that. And then local guidelines needs to be prepared and followed. So future directions in CRD, role of biologics, that might also be directed by CRD. Thus, they can predict the response to anti-IG or probably anti-IL4R therapy. Better understanding of newer components. The newer components upcoming, DRP37. I told you, there is a evolving role in allergic asthma, DRP37 and DRP39. So we really don't know that 1 year down the line, 2 years down the line, we might be discussing this more, along with 5 and 7, and probably 11. Component-based extracts for skin prick test. We really don't know that 5 years down the line, we are right now talking about in vitro testing with components. Who knows that even in vivo testing with components is also available. So there is a need of large-scale Indian CRD studies for validation and integration into national and international guidelines, whether it is WOW, AREA, or GINA. So take-home points. CRD offers precision in dust mite allergy diagnosis, guides prediction, prevention, and therapy, helps to interpret cross-reactivity, adopt CRD in complex allergy cases, collaborate Indian data. Thank you so much. And with this, I will stop here and going back to Alka. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So the session is open for questions. So you can post your questions in the Q&A section or in the chat box. So I can see one question in the chat box. So, sir, in case of polysensitization detected by SPT, do we need to run CRD for all those antigens tested positive on SPT?
I think in the algorithm, there is an answer. So I have already discussed that, okay, if you have just got positive with the skin prick test or the whole allergen extract, let's say for dust mite, shrimp, or probably cockroach, then at that particular time, you have to really see that, okay, which are the common components, which are there. Like for example, if there is a cockroach, dust mite, and shrimp, which are coming positive, the history is matching with dust mite. It seems to be that probably it is the tropomycin, which might be playing the foul play in as a common. So you need to really devise. Now, what is your interest? Your interest is that you are really not interested in detecting tropomycin. Your interest is that in this particular patient, should I start allergen immunotherapy with dust mite or should I not start? So the answer to that will be given by specific components, group 1 and group 2 of dust mite, as I have told you, P1, P2, F1, F2, you need to do that. And you need to do DRP10, that is tropomycin. If the tropomycin is positive, then at that particular time, it answers your cross-reactivity and simultaneously DRP1, DRP2 or group 1 or group 2 positive. So that means it is a candidate for immunotherapy. If group 1 and group 2 are negative, it is only tropomycin which is positive, that is DRP10, then immunotherapy should not be given. So you have to put your question first, that why you want to order component and which component is going to answer that. And once you are able to get that, then you order that specific component only.
Yes, sir. Have seen few patients. The next question is, have seen few patients respond really well to DMAIT initially, but start not responding as well into 2 years of AIT. What role does CRD have in this?
So I would like to say that yes, there is a possibility. I have just told you that many reasons which can happen here. So it could be possible that this particular patient could be having multiple components sensitization. And let's say, for an example, to understand that the disease score before starting immunotherapy was 10, let's assume, or the medication score which was 10, or the combined symptom score and medication score was 10 to start with. And he was allergenic to probably few components. When we started immunotherapy, you actually hit it only some of them. You have not hit it all of them. When you have hit it some of them, then the combined score, which is the symptom score or the medication score, will definitely reduce. It will reduce probably from 10 to 8 or 10 to 7 or 10 to 6. But now the other components which you have not covered, they will be still hampering and they will be still contributing to the clinical score or the medication score. And at that particular time, you need to really see that which other component which is troubling the patient. So that is why, yes, if the patient is, you are having polysensitization, if the patient is not very well responding to immunotherapy, which you are thinking, then at that particular time, yes, there is the role of component testing, which we have just discussed. The next question is, when specific IgG are done, we were they done for specific epitopes? Are these available? Which one were done? Yes. So the answer is that you can only do IgG4 total, but the specific IgG4 right now, this is not done, but it is possible. Reason behind, because you actually require the same pen. Like for example, if you are testing DERPI1, if you are testing DERPI2, so when you are testing a specific IgE against DERPI1, you are testing a specific IgE against DERPI2. So the same pen can be used to test specific IgG4 against DERPI1 or DERPI2. You just require a little bit different reagent. So with a little bit extra cost, but with the same pen, yes, you can do it. It can be done. It is possible. Is natural immunotolerance to DERPI1, DERPI2, DERF1, DERF2 possible? Do child grow out of allergy if found to have symptoms with positivity of above components? Can AIT have preventive value in such scenario? So whatever literature I searched, what I understood is that group 1 and group 2 allergens are positivity are considered to be the marker or predictive marker of severity of symptoms, and these are not likely to outgrow naturally. If you just remember, I have told you that the group 1 allergens are basically in the first 1 year of life, and then the predominance happens with the group 2. So group 2 allergen sensitivity actually is increasing as the age is increasing. So these are considered to be the major allergen. If you are able to detect them early, then it is not likely that they are going to outgrow by themselves. They are likely to, you can say, like, continue the problems there. And AIT, definitely targeted allergen immunotherapy, if you are using good extracts, and targeted allergen immunotherapy is definitely have disease modifying therapy, and it can definitely help. It can definitely reduce specific IgE, and it can increase your IgG4 levels and all those things. What is the point of doing CRD if epitope based AIT isn't available? Yes, very good question. Thank you, sir. Thank you for answering this, questioning this. So the answer to that is I 100% agree with you. So the first answer is, suppose I have given you an example, dust mite, cockroach, shrimp, all positive. Now the patient wants to know, can I eat shrimp? What should I do for the cockroach? Are these false positive or these false or they true positive? Then at that particular time, only component testing can tell you that which is false positive, what is true positive. One. Second, it is also possible that it is entirely tropomycin, the dust mite is coming positive, but actually, or it is entirely ascaris, which is dust mite is coming positive to the whole extract. But actually, the true allergen components like group 1 and group 2, they are not positive. Then at that time, AIT will not be recommended. And you start AIT, after 1 year, 2 year, you will say, oh, this patient is not responding. So you will start blaming to AIT. But actually, this was not the right patient. So that is why I'm saying that everything is having its own place. I usually give an example. My example is that the whole allergen extract is something like a pediatrician treating a child, and the component testing is something a super specialist looking at that. So each and every child do need to go to a super specialist, to a pediatric neurologist, pediatric nephrologist? No, definitely not. Majority of the patients can be managed by the specific IG or can be managed by the general pediatrician. But there are specific conditions, refractory conditions, refractory status epilepticus, refractory nephrotic syndrome, not responding to a pediatrician, then at that time you require your specialist colleague. So you cannot linger on just adding up the doses of steroid to the refractory nephrotic syndrome. You actually require something different. So a specialist. So same way, CRD is basically a specialist. You don't require specialists each and every time. So do not abuse, do not misuse CRD. But yes, definitely there is a very good use, very good potential of CRD if you understand CRD in a much better way. If a patient tests positive for DERP1, DERP2, indicating true dust mite sensitization, is the anon sufficient to initiate AIT? Or similar to SPT interpretation, do we still clinically need through clinical correlation? Additionally, in polysensitized patients, also sensitized, how should we decide whether to proceed? I think I have shown you the chart. So in that chart, they have already given that if a patient is presented to us with symptoms, then you have to just test with all these components. If it is group 1, 2, or 23 positive, then you have to give immunotherapy, irrespective whether others are positive or negative. If the group 1, 2, and 23 are negative and like B10 is positive, that is cross-reactivity, you need not to give immunotherapy. DARF epitopes didn't emphasize much. Yes. So DARF is basically, if you just recall back, so among DERP 1 and 2, DERP 1 is the major culprit. Among DERF 1 and DERF 2, DERF 2 is the major culprit, right? If you want to ask group 1 and group 2, then group 2 is the major culprit, especially second year onward as compared to group 1. So because DERF 1 or DERP 1, they all are showing the group 1 in itself. They are showing the major cross-reactivity. 80% cross-reactivity is there, or 85% cross-reactivity is there. So that is why group 1 allergens and group 2 allergens, they are considered to be the major allergenic factor. Is DERP 1, DERP 2 sensitization alone valid? I think I have answered this. In skin prick testing, we insist on using the same brand, mother tincture, for both testing and AIT to maintain consistency. When using CRD for dust mite allergy, how do we ensure that AIT extract contains the same relevant component? How can we choose the correct AIT product based on CRD finding? So I would like to answer in different manner. The different manner is that it all depends upon that how much level of standardization you have done. What is standardization? Standardization means like I am sitting right now in Delhi and I am taking a paracetamol tablet which is 500 milligram. I know that it will be exactly 500, same brand, not 499, not 501. You are probably sitting in Chennai. You are also taking paracetamol tablet, same company. You will get the same thing. This is standardization. 1 year down the line, once again, same company, same thing. Parle-G biscuit, years, decades together, same taste, same company, same quality. So this is called as standardization. On the other hand, if you are making something today, something tomorrow, like for an example, you are making a homemade food. Today you are making probably some dish. 7 days later, you are making some other dish, same dish again. But at that time, these two dishes might differ in a little taste, might differ. This is basically, you are making it. Your home is making it. Dish is same, but it can differ. So this is not standardization. I'm not saying it is bad, but this is not standardization. So if you are having a standardized product, so CRD by immunocap technique is definitely considered to be in vitro gold standard. It is a standardized product. There is no doubt about that. So there is no batch to batch variation. So definitely it will be useful. In India, patients having high symptoms of dust mite allergy and SPT is negative. Currently, very short focused dust mite panels are available for CRD, which are not very cost effective and don't reveal much information. To my understanding, I have just shown you the table also that DERP1, DERP2, DERF1, DERF2, and DERP10 and DERP23, they are available. And for us, for now, these are sufficient. When I'm talking about DERP5, DERP7, DERP20, DERP37, this I'm talking about probably research tool. This I'm talking about probably 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. But for now, these 5-6 components which are available to us, they are sufficient. I think there are no more questions. We can now proceed. Alka?
Sir, let me check Q&A. It was in chat. Okay,
Okay.
we have a few questions in Q&A. So we'll take a few and then we can go ahead with panel discussion. How does the different proteins are identified in CRD through which technique, HPLC? There are two questions. And how AIT will be made specifically for each individual protein in future, like for DERP1, DERP2, etc.
Okay. So you need to really understand the basic of allergy testing. The basic of allergy testing started with some technique called ELISA. And then ELISA was became obsolete when a newer technique came, which is called as FIA. So FIA is basically fluorescent enzyme immunoassay. So FIA is considered to be gold standard. Now everything when you are actually using a, you can say, a solid base, and to that solid base allergen is attached. Now this allergen could be a crude allergen or whole allergen, or this allergen could be a component of the allergen. In this case, let's say DERP1 or DERP2 whatsoever, and then thereafter you are just passing the sera through that. And when you are passing the sera through that, then if the antibodies are present to that particular allergen, whether it is a whole or it is a component, then they will get attached here. And after that, you are passing another solution through that in which anti-Ig antibodies are there and they are getting attached. So this basically technique is called as FIA, F-E-I-A. Now, this FIA has been taken as a patent by Thermo Fisher and it is called as immunocap. So immunocap is actually FIA, right? So immunocap is basically the patented name which has been taken as a patent by Thermo Fisher. The technique is FIA, F-E-I-A. Now, this immunocap, they are using cellulose as a solid base to which the allergens are there. The benefit of cellulose using is that because it is highly porous and then it goes deeper inside, the solution goes deeper inside, and ultimately the chances of false positivity and false negativity are very minimal, very minimal. So it actually goes, you can say like it is actually goes as a gold standard in vitro testing and all the other testing which are available, which are compared against immunocap. The other advantage is that it is single plex technique. Single plex technique means that it is basically having a qualitative value. That means, for an example, you are having, you can say like, you can follow up a patient. Like yesterday only, I saw a patient, 3.5-year-old, milk positive. So earlier, at 1 year of age, the test was done. At that time, it was 36. Now it is 21 with the same technique immunocap. So I understand that 36 was more, 21 was less. I understand that. But the other different techniques which are not single plex, which are multiplex based, that could be your LX based technique or Euroblotex or Euroimmune or something else. So they all are multiplex technique. In that, this is a semi-quantitative. So they usually give the values in classes, class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4. So that doesn't mean that class 1 is less than class 2 or class 2 is less than class 3. So you cannot really follow up a patient. So this is the base of the technique. So it doesn't matter whether you are doing a whole allergen extract or you are doing a component. The technique remains the same. It is the immunocap, right? So it is the technique or the FIA, which is the technique which is there. It's a single plex technique. Now your second question is allergen immunotherapy. So allergen immunotherapy, you need to really know that what components are there in allergen immunotherapy. If you are using a standardized allergen immunotherapy, then the vendor will be able to provide you, oh sir, this particular allergen immunotherapy will be having 30% of this, 15% of this, 70% of this. So you actually know that, okay, this particular allergen immunotherapy is having group 1 allergen 15%, group 2 allergen 15%, and probably the rest of the 70%, there is something else which is mixed and which is also having the P23 or something like that. But if you are just using a, you can say like a conventional allergen immunotherapy, then we really don't know what is happening.
Okay, so the next question is, if STT positive for house dust mite DPDFBT, what is the test we should go for, specific IG or CRD?
I think we have just answered this question many a times, so we can skip this question for now, Alka.
Okay, and we'll take this last question. You suggest separate algorithm for tropical and temperate regions, whereas India is a mix of both North and South India. What algorithm would you prefer for a patient who frequently travels across India?
Right. So for an example, it should be considered the tropical algorithm. Reason behind, if you just recall carefully, the difference between temperate and tropical was addition of blumia. So in temperate, there was no blumia. In tropical, it was addition of blumia. So if you're adding blumia, it becomes tropical. But DERP and DERF remain same. So if a patient who is, you can say like going here and going there, then at that particular time, you can probably adopt the tropical one because that is adding blumia also.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Neeraj. So I would like to call upon all the panelists to be available for the panel discussion to go ahead with the same. So Dr. Gayatri, are you sharing your presentation or I'll share it?
Yeah, I shall share it.
Yeah, sure.
Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, are the slides visible now?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to introduce you first to the audience here. So, Dr. Gayatri, she's a consultant ENT surgeon and allergy specialist at Samarth ENT Allergy Center, Manipal Hospital, Bangalore. And she's President Allergy Asthma Network of India, ENT convener for Indian Academy of Pediatrics, Allergic Rhinitis, Module 2023. She's a core committee member of Indian Guidelines on Allergic Rhinitis published in 2022, and she's faculty for various other allergy training programs in India, like FAAP, DAA, DAAI, FAAI, DPAAI, and she's
In
author of book Cophology. Uh, she contributed to many chapters in comprehensive textbook of allergy and was a section editor for Handbook of Allergic Rhinitis, published article in many national and international journals. She has been a reviewer for journals, that is Indian Journal of Otolaryngology and Head and Neck Surgery, and she has been speaker in various national and international platforms. She's a gold medalist and gold medal for paper presentation in Karnataka State Conference 2010 and Best Paper Presentation Award for Family Physician Association India in 2008. Bronze medalist. So there are a lot of accolades to Dr. Gayatri. Thank you so much for being accepting being a moderator on the for the session, ma'am. And over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Alka. Before I head on to the panel discussion, let me congratulate Dr. Neeraj for putting up so much of probably the research articles and information. It was like an encyclopedia on the house test mite. And Dr. Neeraj, I would request you to stay for the panel discussion too. I would like to introduce my other panelist, Dr. Ankit Parak. I think he's little held up in an emergency, but if sir joins in between, it will be our pleasure. He's Associate Director from a Pediatric Pulmonology Department and Allergy and Sleep Medicine from Max Hospital, New Delhi. And he has a special interest in interventional pediatric bronchoscopy and sleep medicine. And he has been a diplomat of a European diplomat of a pediatric respiratory medicine and several other things. I welcome Dr. Jai Kumar Mehta from Ahmedabad. And he is the first among the pulmonologists from Gujarat to undergo post-MD modular training, a fellowship program in the specialty of pulmonology from prestigious CMC Institute from Vellore. And he has been certified Allergy Alliance to practice molecular allergology and is a national faculty on advanced allergy diagnosis with CRD. And he has many publications and research to his credit. I welcome Dr. Jai Kumar Mehta. And I think Dr. Mahesh P. has already joined us now. And you know that, it's an endless list here to introduce you, sir. But sir has several publications in a national and international journals. And he has authored in many books and he is listed as top 2% of all researchers in the world in the year 2020, 21, 22, 23, and 24 by Stanford University, USA. We are looking forward to have many informations and gather many knowledge from you, sir. Dr. Neeraj has extensively explained about the dust mites, its various components. Now let us understand the same thing and whatever that he has explained already and look it into certain real case scenarios from us. So the dust mites are something like the, the hidden enemies where we are not even able to see them. It is something like, we need to have something like different operations for them. So these are the allergenic proteins, which are varying from 15,000 to 50,000 daltons. The mite fecal pellets average the diameter of 20 to 30 microns. That means to say that they are pretty heavy particles. And as you have already heard, there are more than 35 HTM allergenic groups, of which the few are very important to us, and the major allergens he has already discussed. Just to reinforce on the same, DERP1, DERP2, and DERP23 account for nearly 80% of an IgA sensitization in DP, that is the seroprevalence. And IgE to DERP 4, 5, 7, and 21 adds up to around 10% of the sensitization, and only a monosensitization to either the DERP 1, 2, or 23 can be detected only in 5% of the HDM allergenic patients. Blot 2, 5, and 21 are the serodominant in the Blomia tropicalis sensitized patients. So it is something, a small gist of whatever the long list that he has already given. We know that the skin prick allergy test has been gold standard in allergy practice, and it is something which is also a bread and butter, and we rely a lot on the skin prick allergy test, and with the history that correlates with the skin prick allergy test. I know that the best ideal situations will be to always to combine an in vitro and an in vivo testing in an ideal scenario, but having the many factors added on to that, that may not be a practical situation for us, especially in an Indian scenario. Sir, in a pure house dust mite allergy history, when would you order for a component test? Dr. Jaikumar, do you want to add any points? I know that ideally we would be wanting to do it in every case, but it may not be practically be possible. And even in my practice, I don't do it for every patient. So if at all, if you are asking for an CRD in your by clinically where you are suspecting that it is a house dust mite allergy, or if you have already done an SPT and found an house dust mite allergy, when would you ask for a CRD? Dr.
So
Jay?
I think, ma'am, it's a wonderful question. Am I audible, loud and clear, ma'am?
Yes, yes, you are clear, sir.
So, what is the clinical indication of doing a CRD allergy test? So, as of now in market, there are two types of CRD allergy profiles available. One is the Alex2 based, which is around 295 allergen panel, which is a bit costly also. And then there is one which is available with the immune cap method, that is mono CRD, which is we calling them as mono CRD HDM, where we are seeing P1, P2, P10, and P23, and they are all recombinant allergens. So, coming to the practical point of view, where I order CRD allergy profiling, first and foremost, I practice mostly adult pulmonology. Usually, my patients are in adults and they have mostly allergic rhinitis or asthmatic bronchitis or allergic asthma. Now, first and foremost, we have clinical symptoms as well as PFT oscillometry testing. And then, first and foremost, we clinical diagnosis of allergic rhinitis or asthma is met. Once then, we always have a focus on endotyping, whether they are having eosinophilia or allergic, that is elevated serum IgE level. In my experience, my limited experience, what I have found is if there is not elevated serum total IgE up to certain level, then CRD allergy profiles are falsely negative. So in these cases, what usually I do practically, if we are having a good total serum total IgE, obviously that doesn't make that this is 100% allergy, but at least it makes an edifice that this patient may have CRD allergy profile which is positive. If the patient is having a low titer of serum total IgE, I usually go ahead with the allergen skin testing. Obviously, other patients who doesn't afford CRD allergy profile, also I go for allergen skin testing and then go for mono CRD HDM. So that keeps the cost
So do
at the
you do it
minimum.
in all if at all, if a single plex is available, so do you do it for all patients of your SPT who
No,
have
ma'am.
come to HT? That's what I'm trying
Yes.
to.
So if SPT is positive, if SPT to house dust mite is positive, and if the patient is not getting improved with, or we are not able to de-escalate or step down therapy, and once we are very sure that this patient will require immune therapy, usually I practice subcutaneous immune therapy, that is injection based for at least 3 years. So before starting patients on this costly therapy, I always go for at least mono CRD HDM, where we have confirmation that we are getting good results after the age after the 2 or 3 years, and we are having very good results after that. I think one of the attendees have pinpointed that after 2 years they don't have good response to the EIT. This happens because are probably not good candidates for allergen immune therapy, and hence make it very sure that once you are choosing allergen immune therapy, we don't want any dropouts. We need 3 years of good treatment, and then we also have very good remission even after stopping of the treatment.
Okay.
So as per the protocol, our departmental protocol, once the SPT is positive for HDM, we at least get mono CRD HDM, which is cheaper investigation. If the serum totalize is elevated, we definitely go for CRD allergy profile, which is a bit costly test, but we also rule out polysensitization
So
in
basically,
that.
before doing an immunotherapy, if you decide the patient for an immunotherapy, we would prefer to do it. So, Dr. Neeraj,
Yes.
any other conditions that specifically for an HDM positive patients that you are asking for a CRD?
So, like I mentioned earlier, I think it is basically the cross-reactivity when there is a question about cross-reactivity or when the patient is not responding to immunotherapy. So, these are the conditions mainly where we are thinking about doing component testing.
Yeah. Dr. Mahesh, have you joined, sir? No, I think he hasn't joined it. So would you also do it for a patient who usually presents beyond the respiratory symptoms, where you have a history which is very typical of an allergic rhinitis or asthma, but this patient also has symptoms beyond respiratory symptoms. So do you consider adding a CRD to that patients? Both of you, anyone can answer this.
So it can be like, for an example, I was mentioning about DERP5 for an example. So DERP5 is basically associated with atopic dermatitis.
Atopic dermatitis.
Yes. Then there are other components which are like DERP 15, 17, 20, even 21 also, which are also associated with atopic dermatitis. But it all depends upon that what condition you are suspecting and which component is available. So, like for an example, right now, the DERP 5 and DERP 7, they are not available with the singleplex technique, but I am sure that they will be available soon also. But the other parallel techniques, they are available, but we need to understand that these techniques are multiplex technique, as I have already mentioned earlier. So you need to really see that which particular thing you want to see, and then accordingly you proceed further.
Yeah. So the couple of indications are, one practice is to do it before every immunotherapy, or the other way is also when you have a failed immunotherapy to do it that time to rule out on the cross reactivity to find out the true allergens. I would also do it in where the symptoms are little beyond respiratory symptoms and combined with an anaphylaxis kind of an history also. So we will go through a couple of scenarios and we will take your feedback on the same. So this is a 16-year-old girl who is known case of an allergic rhinitis. And there was a cleaning process. This is near the Ramjan time. So there was a cleaning process at home during which she developed rashes all over the body and she also starts feeling choked. She is otherwise not a known case of an asthma, and patient was taken to nearby hospital for an emergency management. There was no hypotension. There was no evident bronchospasm or something, but this was something beyond her only allergic rhinitis symptoms. And this is the CRD report that you have here. So I'm just letting you go through the reports. So the dust mite and the storage mite positive here, the fish and seafoods positive here, the ant wasp being positive here. And if you see a family wise, the cystinal protease around 6 and 10, and the tropomycin around 40. And yeah, so then again you have a Blomia tropicalis, blot 5, blot 10, and blot 21, all highly positive. Yeah, so how do you interpret this test, Dr. Neeraj?
So can we go back to the test, please?
Yeah.
So first of all, I would like to say that as we understand that this technique is basically the multiplex technique, and
Yes,
in this
yes.
one, yes. So we need to really understand that this is a semi-quantitative method. So whatsoever is coming high positive or low positive, we have to take that as a pinch of salt here, because the absolute values will not be like 40 is more than 20. It's not like that here. Then the second thing is that let's see what things are coming positive. So here, if we see that there are dark, I think there is some haziness which is happening in the screen. I'm not sure whether it is my side or it from your side, but yes, now it is better. So, like for an example, DARF1 is showing positive, and then DARP1 is showing positive. So the group 1 allergens are here positive, but the group 2 allergens are negative. Then coming to here the tropomycin, which is coming positive, and then the It is 23. Dr. Gayatri, is it 23 which is positive?
Correct.
No,
Okay.
sir.
Which one? The 20. No,
T23
no,
is negative,
23
sir.
is no. That
So it
23
is
is not correct.
21 which is showing.
21. 21.
21 which is positive. Okay, actually the screen is getting a little hazy, so that is why I'm confused. So okay, it is 23 is negative, 21 is positive. So like for an example, this patient with allergic rhinitis, I understand that whatsoever this 21 is coming positive, this is not related with this allergic rhinitis symptoms for now. So the allergic rhinitis symptoms could be possible with this group 1, or the other thing is group this 10, which is tropomycin cross reactivity which is happening. Now let me see the other things. So in the other one, even the storage mites, the blot, this 10 is also coming positive. So this is once again tropomycin. So tropomycin is definitely positive. So the previous tropomycin, this tropomycin, this is cross reactivity which is happening. And then there is a Bromia tropicalis T5, which is a true allergen, which is coming positive. So yes, I feel that yes, this is a child or this is a patient with who should qualify for immunotherapy. And for my understanding, if I have to give immunotherapy, I would like to give for Blumia tropicalis BT5 as well as the group 1 allergen if the component allergen immunotherapy is available to me.
Yeah. So you mean you would add a blomia and you would add on the
This DARPI1. Yeah.
DERP1. Yeah, the DERP1 is what you would consider. Dr. Jaikumar, is your opinion the same or do you differ in
So,
whatever?
yes, I definitely agree with Dr. Neeraj, sir. But there is one more important point is that this may be a polysensitized case, as there is also a cockroach and even fish, seafood, as well as meat allergy, which is positive. I think sir pointed out that it is tropomycin, which is a pan allergen, which is positive. Now, in that case, usually what we have in our panel, where in Gujarat, usually the seafood and meat are negative, and the people usually are derp10 positive, and then cockroach allergy is positive, tropomyosin positivity is there with Blagi 9, Blagi 7, as well as per A7. So what we usually tell, obviously, allergen immune therapy can definitely lead to desensitization to other allergens too, and hence it will cause less and less sensitivity of other triggers. So I think I'll definitely go with allergen immune therapy against DPDF and BT, all three, and which may lead to decrease in the polysensitized status of this patient too. So I agree with Dr. Neeraj, sir,
Yeah.
and
So
we'll
the
go ahead with the same now.
it is, yeah. So we are kind of differentiating between the polysensitization and a polyallergy here. And see, we are excluding the blood 10 component, the P10 component. We know that all these are because of the cross reactivity, and hence we are concentrating only on the DERP and the blood 5 that we have. Let me move to the second case where we have a 42-year-old female presented with a history of allergic rhinitis and a moderately severe allergic rhinitis and asthma. And her symptoms are persistent nasal congestion, sneezing, occasional wheezing, and perennial symptoms are exacerbated by exposure to dust. And this is a single plex which is being done. The component is with DERP 1, 2, 10, 23, and F1 and F2. So if such a straightforward case is there for you, so would you do CRD as in your first diagnosis, or you all consider always a SPT as your first thing and then take a CRD? Since
So
for a people who are for the where the single plex is available, see where you have to go for a multiplex, definitely you would go only by a skin prick allergy test and then you decide on that, right? So if a single plex is available, so would you directly go for a single plex?
So I would like to answer here is like for first principle of allergy testing is that you have to test as minimum as possible. So for an example, that principle will always remain there. For an example, if you are getting this type of clear-cut history, then at that particular time, I would definitely not like to go for component directly. I would just like to go with the selected whole allergen extracts there. Now I understand that in India, the maximum aeroallergens, which are dust mite or probably cockroach, these are the maximum things which are happening. So apart from the dust mite, I might test her with cockroach also. And suppose if only dust mite is coming positive, cockroach is coming negative. So I do not have any question further. I will not go for components. But suppose if there is a, you can say like two things coming positive, three things coming positive, Now I'm getting confused that what to do. Then at that particular time, I might do for that particular components. Otherwise, I would not like to go for the component testing in this particular patient.
Yeah. So Dr. Parekh has joined, or Dr. Mahesh has joined. Okay.
Ma'am, I'm able to see Dr. Mahesh. He is there in the meeting.
Yeah,
Dr. Mahesh, you can unmute yourself. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
We can
yes.
hear you
Loud
well.
and clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
sir,
ah,
yeah, you can give an input, and next case we will take input from you. But anything that you need to say about the doing a CRD as a preliminary test, or doing a CRD as a secondary test, or in a single plex tests.
generally, what happens is when the skin prick test is positive, CRD, whether you want to use it for clinical use, whether you want to use it for immunotherapy, I think still we need a lot of data that has to come out of it. CRD is definitely very exciting. I just want to highlight the study that we did in Europreval, where we had normally, in the normal course itself, you will have about 30% normal people without any allergy who will be positive towards IG. When you move on to the components, we still don't have any data from the Indian population. In the Indian population, you need to have the data, and I would probably request all of you here, esteemed panelists, to actually develop. And unlike the Western world, Indians are very high IgE producer. Our mean total IgE is around 550. Our median IgE is more than 237. And therefore, the interpretation of CRD is not similar to that of the Western world. I think that's the first important information that every clinician who handles CRD should need to consider. Then onwards, I think it is a very exciting field. A lot of information is nascent. Can you hear me? I was lost for some time.
Yeah, we lost you for a second, sir. Now we can hear you.
Yes. Yeah. But it is a very exciting field, I have no doubt. And I think with more and more data, I'm quite confident that this will be a very, very useful tool.
Yeah. So at present, we might require more data for an Indian scenarios, and especially I think the input was also given from a previous panelist, especially when the total IG is very high. In the background of that, we have to take it with a pinch of salt. This is another case, 36-year-old male, classic history of an allergic rhinitis and then recent onset of an asthma. And currently the symptoms are under controls with the medications. And SPT was, showing a DP 12 by 15 millimeter and DF is 8 by 8 millimeter with a pseudopodia, and blomia is 5 by 5. And the component diagnosis CRD, this was actually shared by Dr. Kashyapi. Unfortunately, she has not been able to be there for the discussion because of her bad health today. And the single plex CRD was done, and you have where the DERPI 1 and 2, which was, whereas DP was very high in a skin prick allergy test, is negative here, where it is marginally present for a DF. For a DF, it is 1.21. So I'm pretty sure that you also would have, had such kind of a surprise results. There is a disparity between your skin prick allergy test and the CRD test results. So how do you handle that? Which one do you take into consideration when you have such results? Dr. Jayakumar? And sir, you are there. Dr. Mahesh, you are there. You want to comment on this? Anyone of you? Yeah, please, sir.
Guys, just give me a moment.
Yes, sir.
I think I will talk after the other panelist.
No problem, sir. No problem. Dr. Neeraj or Dr. Jaykumar, do you want to give any input here?
So, Dr. Gayatri, first thing which I would like to say is, you see MEN2 test. For an example, MEN2 test, which is coming somewhere like, for an example, a patient 15 millimeter by 15 millimeter versus 20 millimeter by 20 millimeter. Now, does it mean that 20 millimeter by 20 millimeter MEN2 test means the TB is more advanced or the TB is more severe as compared to 15 millimeter by 15 millimeter? It's not like that. This is only a test of sensitization. The same thing which happens for skin prick test. So whenever you are doing skin prick test and you have shown the result of one test 12 by 12, other test 10 by 10, to me, they both seems to be okay. They both are positive. They both are sensitized. But it doesn't mean that, okay, this is very high positive. This is, you can say like very less positive or something like that. They are positive. They are more than 8 by 8 millimeter. That is fine. Now, when you are doing the CRD, so at that particular time, I am interested. So because these are the whole allergens which you have tested. Now, when you are doing the CRD, then at that particular time, which particular allergenic component you are talking about? Can you please go to the next slide of CRD? The CRD result, please. Yes.
Yeah.
So now the important components for me to start immunotherapy for DERPy is the group 1, group 2, which is negative here. Then group 23, which is also negative here. So whatsoever reaction which is coming up there, that could be related to something else which is not directly related to these groups, right? Here. So for DERPy. But DERF is definitely positive. So to my understanding, here the DERF seems to be the main culprit, and DERPy seems to be probably the cross-reactive allergen, and that is why the test is coming positive there. But the DERF seems to be the main culprit here. The other thing which we need to understand is that the in vitro testing is considered to be more sensitive, whereas the skin prick test is towards more specific. So if the in vitro test is negative, for an example, DERPy1, DERPy2, DERPy10, and DERPy23, then I understand that the skin prick test for these particular components, I will assume them as negative only because the sensitive test is negative.
Yeah. So you would go more by a sensitivity here, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So it is dermatophagoid sphaerini. I will put my money on DF here.
Okay. What do you put on, Dr. Jaykumar? So would you go by an SPT or would you go by an CRD? Oh, I can't hear him either.
Can you listen, ma'am? Hello?
Yes, we can listen.
So actually the thing is, this is only a CAP study done against whole dermatophagoid sphaerini, D. farini, and it's whole extract. I think there is no component analysis done of DF. Now the SPT which has come positive, maybe because of not a true or genuine allergy, but maybe because of some component of the allergenic extract which has been used. There is very good study done from my alma mater CMC Vellore in 2018 by Dr. DJ Christopher sir, where they have compared the potency of house dust mite extracts which are approved from the abroad and Indian manufactured. And there they have seen a lot of discrepancy in the potency as well as specificity. So when it comes that SPT is positive, there is again SDS page analysis of this allergenic extracts by the Indian manufacturers, where they've shown that there are other components also like human protein. And if you are having so strong reaction and CRD is not positive, that means that probably it's a cross-reactive or some irritant induced type of positivity. Here we see in CRD, there is dermatophagoid sphaerini, that's a whole extract, and it's not DRF1 and DRF2. If you see component analysis, P1, P2, P23, all are negative. In this case, I think you should not go for allergen immune therapy because probably you will not get good results. So my take is that we still need to search what type of allergies, maybe it can be some other form of allergies too, like cockroach, fungus or pollen. And I think I'll not start this patient on immune therapy, ma'am.
Pollen, everything being negative. And on
Okay.
SPT, it was strongly positive for an HDM, and that's this thing. The all other allergens are negative.
But ma'am, still I'll not be starting immunotherapy based on this data.
Yeah. So yeah, even
Gayatri, if I can join in,
yes,
see,
sir. Please.
what is most important is the clinical history in this patient or in every patient where you want to consider immunotherapy. Whatever be the skin prick test result or the lab result, we would not start a patient on immunotherapy unless you get a strong history that within 2 hours after being exposed to an allergen drip situation, patient has a breakthrough of symptoms. For example, if you want to consider the house dust mite allergy, the sine qua non is either a night awakening or early morning symptoms. This is the sine qua non, because that is the area where the person will be exposed to the house dust mite to the maximum, and in places like Mysore or Bangalore, it may be in December. In places like Delhi, where it becomes very cold, the peak the house dust mite is present in November. So, and there is also a dose response to the allergen. So even if it is early morning symptoms, but it is happening in summer but not in winter, it is not house dust mite. There should be a dose response, and it should be night awakening or early morning symptoms. If you don't have this symptom, whatever, even if the house dust mite is 50 millimeter or the IgE is showing 100, there is no question of starting immunotherapy for these patients. I think that should be a point that should be clear for people.
Yeah, that's a very nice way of looking into it. It's not the single test or a single thing that will decide, and it's basically, again, as we tell, that the history is the base of our pyramid in the diagnostic and the therapeutic approach here. So it is a combined thing that you assess, you take it, you again compare it with a second history, and that is when you decide on to whether to put this patient onto immunotherapy or not. With this, let me move to the next case. I had a 40-year-old maid, a known case of an allergic rhinitis and mild persistent only. Allergic rhinitis was a mild persistent only. And he takes out an old log. The child wanted to do some project, and so he took one log from the storeroom. And the patient also had taken a paracetamol that day for a fever that day afternoon, and this happened in the evening. And within the 5 minutes of handling that old log, the patient develops rashes, feels dizzy, and he felt that he was sinking, and he had to be taken to emergency. And he had a very typical hypotension, everything, and had to be treated like an anaphylactic episode. So is it visible, Dr. Neeraj and?
No.
This is very hazy.
Okay, so let me read out. Okay, so let me only read out. So it is a derpy, the dust mite is positive, and the value is, the house dust is 2. And then you have a grass pollen, which is 2. CCD also, which is 2. Total IgE is more than 2,500. Okay. And among the grass, you have the Bermuda grass being positive. And again, the values are around 1, 2, and 1 and 1.7. And of all the dust mite component, it is positive only to DERP23, which is 6.66. And the CCD is 2. So this is the CRD report of the patient.
So, to my understanding, I think we need to really think about more possibilities. You told about that this patient was having allergic rhinitis, which was mild in nature. And now this patient was suffering from some fever type of episode, required some paracetamol, and now went to a place, and within 5 minutes of that dark place, he got these symptoms. So we really don't know whether this particular symptoms have been actually exacerbated by only dust mite, or whether there was some other thing like some insect bite or something else which was happening there. So we need to really take a deep history. The other thing important is that there is no, you can say like the allergic rhinitis itself, because dust mite causing within 5 minutes anaphylaxis with a previously well controlled mild allergic rhinitis, nothing else which is going on, it seems to be a little less likely here, and just directly causing anaphylaxis without any other features which are suggestive, and within 5 minutes. So it seems to be very less likely here. The other thing is that you are saying that it is DERPI 23 which is positive, and whatsoever immunotherapy extracts which are there, they are very poor for DERPI 23, whatever we understand. So that is why I don't think that for now it should be, you can say, like started on an e-jerk. I think I would like to wait and see that how the things are going on, taking more deeper history, and then see what is happening.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
Dr.
I want
Jaikumar,
to,
how? Sir.
yeah, so I want to add, I completely agree with Dr. Neeraj, sir. And I want to also highlight the P23 or isolated P23 positivity phenomena in when it comes to the house dust mite allergies. So we have run our little diagnostics and about what the statistical analysis that we are facing at least around 7.5% of patients. It's, I think, in line with Dr. Neeraj's presented data that around 6% to 7% patients will have isolated P23 positivity. Now, we need to understand where actually P23 is and why they are not good candidates for allergen immune therapy. Like P1 is in the gut of a dust mite, while P2 is in the exoskeletal, similar to the F1 and F2. So when we are producing the allergen immune therapy extracts, we usually take this live dust mites, while P23 is only in the fecal pellets. And because of that, when there are allergen extracts produced in the immune therapy, you don't get much of a P23 because they are not getting much of the fecal pellets also. They have only this live dust mites. Now, there is another tablet which is recently launched is Sensimune HDMC tablet, which proclaims that there is some component of P23 in that, and then they are measuring it in the international standards. But the amount of, again, P23 presented in that is very less. So as of now, in my clinical practice, when I face isolated P23 positivity, where the symptoms are correlating with the dust mite sensitivity, still many of my patients are not on allergen immune therapy. We are only on either environmental control or pharmacotherapy. I think I'll like to have Dr. Neeraj's opinion on this. That what do we do if we are having relevant symptoms and only isolated P23 positivity? I don't think so. We should offer immune therapy, particularly with the Indian extracts available right now, because possibility of failure is high.
Even with an
Uh,
standardized extract
Indian
for the
extract, I agree with you. Indian extract, I agree with you. And we require some data or more data with the new tablet which has come up that we need to really see. But and the other thing which is important is that we need to really see that how many cases are there for isolated P23 which are there in India. Whatsoever data I have presented, this is from West, but we really need to know that are there significant numbers or there are not so much significant numbers. We need to really see.
Yeah, and as Dr. Neeraj also has, if it were to be present with an DERPI1, DERPI2, DERPI23 together, then giving an the standardized extract, even that would make sense. But when it is an isolated DERPI23, as you see in this algorithm also, that when you have the last column here and when you have an only DERPI23, and then that is when you will not think of allergen immunotherapy, because the representation of this is poor, starting from even the extracts that we test and also the extracts that we use for immunotherapy. This is one of the rare case that where I got where only DERPI23 was present, and also it was little weird history where the cutaneous reactions were so much so, and then progress into the anaphylactic shock also. So definitely no role of immunotherapy in this patient. Another interesting case is a 43-year-old male. He's a known asthmatic. He's known asthmatic, but he has not been taking his inhalers regularly. So he has been taking only as an SOS basis, and according to him, only whenever the symptoms are pretty worse. He was traveling in a train, and he had a idli and a chutney, and within few minutes, Idli is made up of urad dal and the rice, the grind rice also. The chutney could have a different components depending on the preparation, starting from a peanut to the sesame to coconut, chili, etc. Within few minutes, patient develops a hives and angioedema and a choking sensation, and the drain had to be stopped as an emergency basis, and he was taken to a hospital nearby. This patient also is a CABG patient, and he is on a beta blocker already, and he has been on a beta blocker for the last 2 years. He has been on, and this is the CRD report. Is this clear?
Yeah. P20 is only P7 is positive.
Yeah, DERP7 is positive. Dust mites positive. Nuts and seeds are positive. Let me see if I have. Yeah, so I've just written the nuts here because I was not able to put them up in this one. So the positive things are DERP7 36. Hazelnut 6.65, cashew ANAO is 3, poppy seeds 1.23, and later, like I had done the PFT also, PFT was the FEV1 was 68% with a very good reversibility, and that was optimized later. So how do you what's the comment on this case? So it was like a pure full-fledged anaphylaxis, and the patient is non-asthmatic too. Any comment? Dr. Neeraj, do you have any thought process for this?
So regarding DERP7, when I was presenting my presentation, I told you that DERP7 has been found to be associated with asthma and severe exacerbations. But yes, there are, you can say like, there are no extracts or the Indian extracts whichever are available. So the therapies, so they are not targeting DERP7. So DERP7 extract is not available for targeting therapies. But yes, it is possible that his asthma might be related to this DERP7. I'm not sure if it is allergic asthma or if there could be an element of non-allergic asthma which is also going on in this particular gentleman. This is also possible. So, but DERP7 could be one possibility. Now here, when we are talking about a patient eating after certain food and then getting anaphylaxis, so 2-3 possibilities. One possibility, straightforward, this patient has got food-induced anaphylaxis. Now, this food-induced anaphylaxis with this, can you go to the next slide? Yes, your hazelnut. So your hazelnut positive or your poppy seed positive with some chutney in between. So I don't know that what are the ingredients there and whether it is a true sensitizer and that has actually created the problem. So this could be a direct possibility. This is one. If there is a previous history that this particular patient has actually consumed these things and he has been okay, he has not got any
he has
symptoms.
tolerated. Hazelnut, not specifically that he has eaten, but he does remember that having the chocolates with the hazelnut. Cashew, poppy seeds he has had without any problem. He has consumed
so if he was tolerating them, if he was tolerating them, then there could be a possibility, like we always understand, the entity called as food-dependent exercise-induced anaphylaxis. So a similar type of entity is now called as AFIFA, which is augmentation factor-induced food allergy. That means it is not only always exercise, there could be different factors which could be there. So there is a possibility that this particular patient was having like some sort of sensitization in the form of DERP7, uncontrolled asthma, and on the top of that, now he consumed, you can say like another food item which was having some sort of a component which was positive, and the two things got combined and ultimately created or triggered the threshold reaction. The other thing which I'm saying is that especially in this augmentation factor induced food allergy is important that many times there are certain food components which a patient is regularly consuming, no symptoms are there, and sometimes because of some extreme environmental conditions, that could be extreme weather, that could be other conditions which patient might not realize, patient might not come up with a history, and when they combine, then at that time they can also potentiate some anaphylaxis type of reaction. So here in this particular patient, DERP7 cause of anaphylaxis I would not like to keep. DERP7 might be associated with asthma or there could be non-allergic asthma, but the food allergy causing anaphylaxis or responsible for anaphylaxis along with any other factor combining together seems to be a little more higher possibility.
Yeah. In fact, before ordering
Gayatri, I would.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Please.
So I would agree with Neeraj, because the dust mite exposure in this case, I am sure he would have been exposed to that dose earlier in many situations. He's been on beta blocker for a long time. It's not that he's taken beta blocker on that particular day. So the dose of house dust mite is exposed on a train or the beta blocker cannot explain this new onset of symptoms. So it has to be related to the food. And if he has consumed this food before, then it is the augmentation factor that is likely to be relevant.
Cofactors, yeah.
Yes, cofactor. Now, when we look at these numbers for the IgE, it's very important to understand that Indians are high IgE producers and IgE levels are not related to clinical symptoms or clinical severity. You can have low levels of IgE with extremely severe or low lung functions and poor treatment responsiveness, high medication need. So there is no actual correlation. That's one point it is important to note. Second point is, for every particular allergen you want to use, there is a particular annual cumulative dose we have to reach for it to be effective. Now, for most of the immunotherapy studies that have been done in the world so far, it is limited to DERP1, DERP2, and as well as the DERF1, DERF2. We know this is the microgram of DERP1 we need per maintenance dose of injection to reach the annual cumulative dose to have the best possible optimum treatment effect. We have no data for any other component other than DERP1, DERP2. What is the dose that is needed? What is the initiation dose? What is the maintenance dose? What is the annual cumulative dose? We have no idea. So we should be very cautious right now because there is no data. It is also the point that we don't have very specific for DERP7 or DERP23. But it's also that we don't know anything about these molecules as to how much dose is actually effective. It's like we are, when we try to do this, this chickpea immunotherapy and all that, in some of the, we have tried one or two. We are just blind. We have no idea how much to give, how much to dilute, what is the starting dose, what is the maintenance dose. We have no idea.
Yeah. So in fact, actually, when I asked for a CRD for this patient, my thought process was probably, I was thinking in terms of a pancake syndrome. So where the ingestion of the dust mite would have caused. So I was thinking of probably the storage mite, and as Dr. Neeraj was, speaking, probably the ingestion of the tropomycin, whether that would have caused the reaction. But to my surprise, it wasn't that. And the picture was this. So I was then later thinking probably in the same line that you all have taught now. It is the food with probably the multiple this thing, and we are yet to know a little more on certain components, like DERPAN is 7 is something which we will have to know more to. Right now it is associated with an asthma only, but not with any pancake syndrome kind of a scenario. So here there were some multiple factors, but whether all that had a cumulative effect like a travel and the beta blockers and the stress, whether all that added to the food ingestion, I'm still not very clear on that. So the last case is the 30-year-old female with a known history of an allergic rhinitis, mild persistent, used to have an minimal cutaneous rashes to the seafood. So whenever she consumes the seafood, she would have an hives here and there. And she was on a vacation recently in Goa. So she ate a prawn and she had a full-blown anaphylaxis. She had also consumed wine with the dinner on the same day. And I think I have not put the report here. So she was a tropomycin positive. DERP10 was positive. The blot 10 was positive, and many positivity across prawn and the crab also. I also did a skin prick allergy test for her. DFDP is negative, and the blomia was positive, even in the skin prick allergy test. So the question that I would want to put for all the panelists is that would doing a immunotherapy to blomia protect her against the risk of anaphylaxis, or would her threshold to tolerate these food allergens also will be better if I desensitize her with a blomia? Dr. Mahesh, do you want to give your input, sir?
Yeah. See, the Blumia exposure is predominantly in, for example, farming practice where there's a lot of storage, or in food processing units, even in the houses, and they need very high humidity, maybe as in Goa. It should be more than 70% for the storage mites to grow. Anything less than 70%, the storage mites don't grow. The
Patient is
predominant
from Bangalore,
exposure.
but had gone for a vacation there. That's all. Patient
Correct,
otherwise
correct, correct.
from
But
Bangalore.
the kind of Blumia exposures is predominantly in the food processing industry, like for example, bakery. So such kind of a large. It's not in a simple home exposure, the load generally is not large enough. The large enough exposure are in farming practices and in the food processing unit. These are where the storage mites, in such situations, which is a lot of times occupational, that is where the storage mites are likely to be important. In a home exposure, it may not be that important. That is one. Second is not only the when you talk of seafood, you should also understand that seafood are very rich in histamine, serotonin, bradykinin by itself, similar to brinjal. So these are all containing molecules. So even if the test were to be positive, a lot of people will complain of symptoms simply because they are sensitive, and these are very histamine and serotonin, bradykinin rich foods. So even when you may find that the skin prick test is negative, you may still find that people may react with symptoms. Now, in this situation, again, with the tropomycin, whether it causes anaphylaxis, very commonly, I am not very sure. I don't know whether you have looked at the literature on that. Tropomycin, as such, is known to explain cross-reactivity between house dust mite and the seafood. But whether tropomycin itself is potent enough to lead to easily lead to anaphylaxis, I'm not very sure yet. I think Neeraj or Gayatri can comment on that. So I'm not fully sure about immunotherapy in this particular case with Blumia, because that's not the occupational setting and exposure for this, for this particular patient.
For an in a house setting, what is the second history that we would usually ask for a blomia to know that whether by history the second history is relevant to our patients? Would you ask something like,
No, unless she's
cleaning a
she's
things,
most.
cupboards? Would that also mean the blomia exposure, like a cleaning a cupboard or having a old book or a,
I
when
would
you.
not see that is not. If you look at the literature carefully for our Blumia, where the storage mites are dominant. See, the places you are talking about is where the house dust mites are dominant. If you look at where Blumia and other storage mites are dominant,
Grains.
it is farming industry, food processing industry. This is where they are dominant. Housewife, I'm not very sure. You can have a look at it again, but the major kind of exposures that are associated with clinical symptoms for these storage mites are the occupational exposures I told you about.
Dr. Neeraj, what are your views on this case?
So, two, three things which I would like to say that you have told that this particular patient was having some sort of allergic rhinitis also, right?
Yes.
And now this patient
But
had
not
some.
bothering her.
Yes, agreed, agreed. And now this patient was having seafood anaphylaxis, right, with this tropomycin positivity. So I completely agree that tropomycin positivity has led to this, and tropomycin is considered to be a heat stable protein. So it has been given in the literature that tropomycin can cause from mild reaction to severe reaction. And you have already mentioned that this particular patient has got some sort of mild urticaria or some skin hives, which were there previously also on exposure. And this time, this patient has also consumed along with seafood some wine also. So which is once again an augmentation factor which is coming up with the previous history. So I would like to keep tropomycin here as a culprit, which is probably responsible for his anaphylaxis this time. Now, coming to the question about Blumia. So the true allergen of Blumia is Blumia T5, and here the cross-reactivity is Blumia T10. Now I need to know that whether the skin prick test which you have done is positive for because of this Blumia 10 T10, which is the tropomycin one, or whether it is the Blumia T5, which is the real culprit one. If we are having a relation of Blumia T5 and which is the real culprit one, and Blumia is actually getting, you can say, like by the history, we feel that okay, allergic rhinitis comparable, then at that particular time we can think about immunotherapy to to tackle allergic rhinitis if it is troubling the quality of life. If the allergic rhinitis is not troubling the quality of life, if Lumia T5 is not positive, then at that time I don't think that immunotherapy is going to help. Regarding tropomycin, I don't think that giving Lumia immunotherapy because of tropomycin is going to reduce the chances of tropomycin induced anaphylaxis. I don't think so.
Okay, so it was only 10, the 5 wasn't positive, and even among the dust mite, only derpy 10 is positive. It's isolated derpy 10, which was positive.
Yeah.
I think
So it is tropomycin, then probably
it is
no
more of
immunotherapy.
tropomycin only. So if in
Yes,
this
so no
case,
immunotherapy.
if in this
So
case
I
it
think,
had to be
ma'am,
blot
I want to
5,
add one thing only,
yes,
that this is very good case where we also see that even some negative CRD value also give us positive impact. One thing which I highlight in Dr. Neeraj's talk is about presence of pan allergens like tropomycin. There are another many like PR10 or profilins. They are also pan allergens, and once we do CRD allergy profile, we get that these tropomycins are not actually markers of genuine sensitization to the dust mites per se, but then they are very relevant major allergens for, like shrimp and prawn. Somebody has just pointed out that panem 1 is the major allergen for prawn allergy. And once you have proved that this is panem 1 positivity, it means it's direct food anaphylaxis. And that's how the CRD works, I think. One important thing which I want to highlight is about the pollen food syndrome also, where we have so much of overlapping of certain pollen and certain food, particularly nuts. So I think this again is a very important aspect of CRD, where the cross-reactivity, with the help of cross-reactivity, you can educate your patient about the food and the lifestyle changes now.
yeah, yeah. And that brings down this case to what Dr. Neeraj was mentioning about the helminths. The only derpy 10 and a blot 10 positive is where you don't really think of doing any desensitization here, and you will also have to think of the helminth sensitization. So to summarize from my point, DERP1 and DRF1, the cysteine proteins are the major allergens with highly associated with a clinical symptom. DERP2, DRF2 are the lipid binding proteins, are also the major sensitizer. DERP23 is recently which is being identified, and we saw that how it is important also sometimes not to choose the thing for the immunotherapy. Component-based diagnosis helps in avoiding a overdiagnosis in many of the case scenarios also that you saw that, to avoid a overdiagnosis, to understand the cross-reactivity. And in specific cases, it enables the personalized AIT also. So the only disadvantage at this point is the limited indent data that we have, and the availability of the single plex in all places, and cost also remains as a challenge. I would like to have one point of an input from all my panelists. To start with Dr. Mahesh, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Gayatri. I think it's been a very good discussion, good talks from both of you. And what I would like to say is we need to first, we need to do CRD in the normal population to know where we are. I think that's the base before we start moving into disease. It is all done in the Western world. That is how it is done. All the studies have been done in normal population. And actually, with this Europrobal, we had a 2 year delay in sending the blood. Otherwise, we would have CRD data from India also. Unfortunately, by the time I could get permission from the ministry, uh, uh, from the health ministry, it was 2 years and their kit were expired. Otherwise, we would have normal data from the Indian population also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Neeraj?
So I would like to just highlight that I think the conventional teaching, which is history, history, and history. So which is very, very, very important, very relevant. Whatsoever any test comes positive, whether it is a skin prick test, it is a specific IG, it is a component, it is a history which is going to dictate. Ultimately, we have to really think about that whatsoever we do, whether we are doing some avoidance measures, we are doing some test, or we are doing to, you can say like some immunotherapy. Our aim should be to improve the quality of life. If we are not able to contribute to improve the quality of life, I think we should not jump to go for any sort of testing, whether it is a skin prick test or specific IG or component. So we need to have a very good idea, and once again narrow down. Narrow down. If you want to test, just test only few. Single plex technique, use single plex, and then try to answer those questions. So first raise your question before testing. Do not try to order a test, a panel of big panel, and then you think that okay, report will come and I will interpret. That will create more confusion. That will never help. So it is always, you can say like history is the key. Get some tests done, relevant test. Once again, take the history, try to match it, and then only proceed.
Good, good message, sir. So do the test only when required and know why you are doing it. And unnecessarily, just because of the availability of the test, if you keep doing it, you will be more in confusions.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Jay Kumar, sir.
Ma'am, first and foremost, thank you so much for your lucid presentation. It's been an excellent delight to be on this esteemed panel, part of this esteemed panel discussion. More important, one more aspect is that rewritten of the prescription after component result diagnosis, up to 58% of your prescriptions change when you incorporate CRD, and this is published literature. So once the technology, which is so promising, which is holding a good promise to the future, which changes your prescription, the way you look the allergy, I think it is one thing which we should all incorporate in our practice. And most important message is, rather than talking only about the allergen, we need to talk more in the nomenclature of the molecules. P1, P2, P10 and all. And then all it makes sense. Recently, I was at a launch. Even the students don't know what the P1, P2 are. So I think we should get it into the curriculum that what actually we are talking about. And then I think we are going to make the difference and revolution in the allergy diagnosis as well as therapeutics. Thank you so much for having me on board now.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all of you. And I learned a lot from all your inputs too. And a message for a Thermo Fisher here is, which I'm extending from Dr. Mahesh, is to create even the normal data from an Indian population, not just among the patients, but also among the normal patients. Thank you. Thank you very much. It has been
there are
a
a few
pass of us.
cases.
Over to you, Alka.
There are a few questions, ma'am, in the chat and Q&A. Hello.
Yeah. You can read that out.
Okay. So, ma'am, one case is if both SPT and monocomponent CRD are available, should we do both or only CRD then?
Anybody wants to take that question? I think that was, I did ask about that in the first or the second case. When both are available, do you do it or you don't need to do it? Anybody wants to add an input on that again?
So I'll just brief up what Neeraj sir told, that the crux of the allergy is to go as specific and as less testing as possible. If your clinical history suggests that this is dustomite allergy so strong, then go for the monocomponent CRD testing and you'll get the answers what you want. So I think that's how we summarize that answer, ma'am.
Okay. Next question is, in case one tropomyosin is positive, why we are considering AIT when there is cross-reactivity?
We're not considering.
We are not considering.
We don't. Never.
One question is, Pan M1 is a major allergen causing anaphylaxis in shrimps. The P10 and blot T10 are tropomyosin. You will need an oral challenge to confirm prawn anaphylaxis. You will need to you will need to look over this case in more detail for something else. This CRD is a new test and it is evolving. If an unusual finding comes out, need to review in detail. Think out of the box. I think that's a feedback from Danish.
So I would like to comment here. So normally, whatever I understand is that whenever we are getting a case of frank history of anaphylaxis, And that is a very clear-cut history that seafood taken, anaphylaxis happened. I would not like to subject this particular patient for a challenge test. This patient is not for a challenge. Challenges are not done when you are getting such a clear-cut history. So this clear-cut history, challenges are not needed. They are not warranted. They are risky.
Okay, sir, the last question is most AIT guidelines do not explicitly mention symptom patterns like night or early morning cough or seasonal symptoms such as winter cough and summer cough, which are commonly observed in clinical practice. What is the rationale behind this omission? Are there any references supporting this approach? Also, can we extrapolate such seasonal symptom patterns from Indian patients to those in other continents like Europe, or are these region specific?
Yeah. Dr. Mahesh, you can answer that.
Yeah,
because
see, most of the textbooks that tell you about immunotherapy just talk of clinical correlation. They don't tell you how to do it. So what we have expressed is telling you how to do it. If you see any book on or any chapter on immunotherapy, that's what you will get. Clinical correlation should be strong, but nobody tells you how to do it. So, this is how you do it. So you need to have test that is positive. I think that's what Dr. Gayatri said when he said after a test again you have to take another history. So you have to make sure that every positive test you have to go through a particular pathway. You have to make sure patient is exposed to it. Then you have to make sure after exposure within 2 hours patient develops symptoms to it. Even patients who have late phase reaction of a type 1 always have an early phase reaction. Extremely rare to have without an early phase, only late phase, extremely rare. Usually even with late phase also, there is always an early phase. So within 2 hours, patient must have symptoms. You may find different allergens responsible for different clinical symptoms. For example, one pollen may be responsible for conjunctivitis and dust mite may be responsible for asthma. So you want to know which organ system is involved and you want to know what is the severity of the disease that is related to the particular symptom. There are 2 allergens, both are causing asthma, but one allergen may be causing severe asthma, another may be causing mild asthma. So every single positive test you get, you have to follow this path. It took me about 15 years to understand after reading text after text that says clinical correlation, and we get no idea what it means. What it means is this: you have to, after a positive test, every allergen, ask for history of exposure, time, a temporal relationship, within 2 hours there should be symptoms, which organ is involved, what is the severity that is involved. Now, if every allergen, this is the pathway, you bring in CRD, now you understand the complexity of it.
Yeah. I know that though the textbooks don't mention about it, it is the repetitive, similar kind of an history that we have got from so many patients. And then we know that that is how the history has been correlating with that kind of an positivity and this kind of an early morning presentation, then the sneezing with an HDM. So it is a repetitive histories that we have got across many patients. Is that all, Alka?
Last question. Can you do AIT for only hives as symptoms and specific IG positive for DF and DP?
Only hives
I
as
didn't get it. What is okay? Can you repeat the question, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Can you do AIT for only hives as symptoms and specific IG positive for DF and DP and DF?
See, most of the times, if you look at urticaria, especially chronic urticaria, then it is most likely if it crosses 6 weeks, you have a very strong autoimmune reason as the most common. There is no role for immunotherapy. We have given immunotherapy for hives when there is a strong history that every time patient is exposed to the house dust mites, like for example, a housewife, she is cleaning, every day she is cleaning, she is handling the bed sheets, folding the blankets, and then she has hives. So if that contact house dust mite causes urticaria, it's a contact urticaria. And we also published in a dermatology journal almost 20 years ago on that. So house dust mite, you must get a strong history that every time patient comes in contact with dust mite rich situation, there is breakthrough of urticaria. So those are generally women who are housewives and they are in contact. So there we have used immunotherapy to good effect. But if you say in 100 cases of chronic urticaria that I see how many I give immunotherapy, generally it's 0 because it's not very common. Maybe 1 in 500 will have contact urticaria, very strong history, they cannot avoid the allergen. That's when you consider immunotherapy.
So there was one question in my mind I wanted to ask. In case of a really very strong clinical suspicion to the dust mite, house dust mites, is there any experience where the LX2 is negative, and subsequently when you do ISAC, that is mono CRD, it comes positive? Is there any such occurrence, sir? Have you ever come across such scenario where you are suspecting strongly that this is a dust mite, whether this is late night, early morning presentation? Patients are typically having very difficult step down, but your LX2 is negative, and subsequently you do ISAC monocyte STM and that comes positive. Does that ever happen? Or once the LX2 is negative, the ISAC will be negative?
I don't have a very clear answer to that. Maybe somebody doing a lot of both can reply. But when I went to a workshop outside in Germany, we had people, I think Gayatri was also there. We had people doing it every different way. But in a typical situation where you have a strong history but specific IG is negative, it is more likely, we see a lot of those cases, and it's more likely to be a localized allergic rhinitis. In the sense there is a IgE in tissue. For example, for such patients, if you were to do a house dust mite nasal challenge and a rhinomanometry, it will be positive. But if you do a skin prick test, it will be negative. If you do a serum specific IgE, it will be negative because it is not there in the blood and peripheral tissues. It is only in the organ that is involved. This is called localized allergic rhinitis. That's likely to be the most common explanation when you have a very strong history but a negative test. Now, when we asked one of the experts there in Germany why they are doing every single test, because they were doing ELISA, they were doing immunocap, they were doing everything, they said the processing of the companies are different, and the same thing positive in one may be negative in another. So we do everything because it is done free for the patient and we have the money to do it.
Yeah,
I don't think that is an option in India. In the situation you said, it's most likely to be a localized, just a kind of allergic disease.
Yes. Okay.
But the lab differences are quite possible.
So I would like to comment here, sir. Yes, it is possible, Dr. Jay, because it has been said that this immunocap technique, which is the gold standard in vitro testing, all the other testing, whether it is a LX, whether it is Euroimmune, anyone else, they all are compared against the immunocap. So the graphs are plotted against immunocap. So it has been seen that if the values are very low or the values are very high, then at that particular time there is huge discordance which can happen between the two techniques. Whereas if the values are in the middle range, then usually there is a concordance which has been formed. So it is possible that I have also witnessed this thing that the LX technique might not be able to pick up, but you are able to get the same thing with the immunocap. Yes, it is possible.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, Pam, last two questions that is coming. One is any comparative studies between SPT results and CRD?
Between SPT and CRD.
CRD, yes.
These two things are different. These two things are telling you different things. So you cannot compare these two things. SPT is something like a whole allergen extract in which you might not be having a representation of a one particular component or the other component, and versus a component study in which you are just testing only individual components, you are not testing all the components. So these two things are different. You cannot compare, you can say like oranges to mangoes. So these things are different. So I don't think that it is justified to do this type of study. I don't think so. The results will be different with different SPT extracts. The results will be different with different components which you choose. So
What you
I
have
don't think
comparison of a sensitivity and the specificity, not like an head-to-head comparisons or something.
sensitivity, specificity, as we discussed, that anything which you are testing with the blood. So this is more sensitive because you are actually detecting the free individual IgE molecule. When you are taking skin prick test, in the skin prick test, you are actually challenging the patient. So you are actually taking for the, you can say like the coupling reaction, the two IgE molecule who are sitting side by side together on the mast cell, waiting for the, you can say like the allergen to get re-exposed. So it is more specific. So whether it is total means like specific IgE, whether it is component testing, if you are doing it any blood testing in vitro, it is more sensitive. If you are doing it in vivo testing, it is more specific.
Okay, so the last question is, what was the reason finally in that child carrying log for anaphylaxis, paracetamol? So what was the reason finally for that child?
No, probably it would have, so that was a case where I think we had only DERP10, DERP23 positive, right? So the only DERP23 was positive in that. So whether it would have been from an irritant reactions too. So we don't know. We don't know that whether the discussion was whether the DERP23 alone would cause such symptoms was the discussion. So the discussion was that the DERP23 probably was not responsible for that reaction. So we'll have to think beyond that. That's it.
Another question. I don't know.
You're telling every question. Last question.
I just got another. So it's very, I mean, the discussion is going on well. I had a case with strong history of peanut and corn allergy with respiratory symptoms, but I got negative specific IgE for both. What to do next? I think it is coming from the last session.
So I would like to answer this. So the first thing is that yes, we understand that the reason for positivity and the reason for negativity for a particular test. Whenever you are doing a, you can say like a specific IgE, which is a whole allergen extract, it might not be representing all the components. So it is possible that some component which is underrepresented and that is actually creating problem. So that is why it is creating problem. So this is possible that you might get a negative test, but still the patient history is correlating. At that time, the challenge test will give you the answer. This is one. Or the other thing is that it is not the true allergy to the particular peanut or whatsoever the food item. It is probably the contamination which is happening, and that is actually creating the problem. So the answer will come with the challenge test in the controlled condition.
Okay, sir, that's what he asked. Should I do CRD for this? So challenge test is the one which we need to do that. Child has asthma and dermatitis. That is the case.
I will not say that to do CRD or not. It is actually a difficult thing because the answer could be yes or no. If you are having a negative specific IgE, then you should not do CRD. This is one answer. The other answer is that if you do CRD and some component comes positive, then the interpretation could be that that particular component could be underrepresented in the specific IgE whole allergen, and that is why the CRD came positive and the total specific IgE was negative. So means like the answer could be both ways, that it can be explained both ways.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. So that was really a last question, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Neeraj, for this insightful session. It was really wonderful. And already started getting feedbacks on my WhatsApp, on the chat here, that it was a really wonderful session with the panel discussion. The panel discussion was really, really wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Gayatri, Dr. Mehta, everybody, and Dr. P.A. Mahesh, and really it was a wonderful session. So I would like to inform that we have another a very interesting session coming up next Friday again, same time, 8 to 10 p.m. On 16th May. So please register for that and join the meeting. Okay, thank you everyone for joining here, and thank you so much. Good night, everyone, and have a wonderful weekend.
Bye-bye. Good
Thank you.
night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, myself, for joining.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Good night, Neeraj.
Good night.